Chapter 989. That night, Zhang Xiaobao had a good sleep. He had not done any strenuous exercise for a long time. After he was exhausted, he slept very soundly. When he woke up in the morning, there were still a few small places on his body that were sore and numb. He slowly got up and did some exercises to ease the discomfort in those places. Wang Wan came in. Last night, she had stayed with her mother. Today, her mother-in-law, and Xiaobei were going out. She had arranged for a train to go to Hongnong first. Wash up and eat. After eating, we can go to the station to send them off. Xiaobei and the rest want to play around, so you indulge them. You even specially accompanied them on a train. In addition to the guards and the people who carry things, there are 1,500 to 600 people. It's good to save this money and do some public welfare. Moreover, it's wasted. Once they go out, it's enough for a normal county's annual revenue. Wang Wan came over to help Zhang Xiaobao rub the uncomfortable places and complained. All right, I don't object to investing money for public welfare. Haven't we been investing all this time? We have money, so why can't we spend it? What kind of logic is this? I let Xiaobei and the rest spend the money we earned. If this is not allowed, how can we live? Tell me, have I done anything immoral ever since I brought you here? I don't think so. If people in the past knew about this, they would laugh me to death. I realized that after so many years, the halo on my head is getting brighter and brighter. Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan with a cheeky smile, making Wang Wan laugh. Do you dare to say this to the Tibetans, Turks, Japanese, and Xinhua people? What halo? Let me see if there are any wings. Don't. That place on my back hurts. When I attacked yesterday, who was behind me? It's bruised. I guarantee it's bruised. These people don't have any skills at all. Where are the Tibetans and Turks? There's only the place. Now they're all Tang people. Don't cause ethnic division. Do the Japanese dare to oppose me? Wife, take the soldiers and let me kill them. As for Xinhua, you can ask Li Mao. He's the one who wants to be county magistrate. Am I good? Without me, would they be able to recognize the evil nature of their officials? Zhang Xiaobao didn't care at all. After all, he had already done what he had to do. If there was any infamy, he would bear it himself. Maybe if he attacked a few more places, he would be praised as a general contributor. As Wang Wan pushed Zhang Xiaobao outside, she said, "Time really flies. We don't have to worry about the small income of the farmers like before. The farmers are all rich now. Look at how many people came to accompany us during the new year. Back then, they were half-grown boys. Now their children have all gone to school. Oh, if it were you, you could just do whatever you want. Every one of them has at least 10,000 strings of cash at home. When you ask them to go out and live on their own, they insist on keeping their indentured servitude contracts and refuse no matter what. Where we come from, there's no such thing. If we're talking about people with backbone, the Gu family's Zhuangzi is also not bad. After Gu Fugui's days are good, they say that they don't need to pay a ransom, and that they can change families or go out to live. At that time, I thought that some people would come to our family, but in the end not a single person moved. When the martial arts examination is over and Xiaobei and the others come back, when we go to the original place of the Tujue, we have to go back to Sanshui County to take a look. After a long time, I want to. Okay, I wanted to. I even dreamed about it. The old man in the dream scared me so much that I broke out in a sweat. When I dream about him again, I have to find him and have a good talk. The Gu family's Zhuangzi is their good days. Think about it, if it were you, would you come to our family Zhuangzi? That's called treachery. They have to consider it. Today, they can betray the Gu family in the future. Tomorrow, they can betray our Zhang family and Wang family. Also, the people of the Li family Zhuangzi are not bad. They are really lucky. Li Sun wanted to snatch our family's Zhuangzi between the clouds and the water. In the end, he found someone else and got them a Zhuangzi. Now, I don't know how they are doing. When this topic was brought up, Zhang Xiaobao was also filled with emotions. Everything seemed to have happened yesterday. In the blink of an eye, a lot of things had changed. Many people who should have died did not die. Many people who should have had their positions were no longer there. And there were fewer wars. Wang Wan sighed and said, "Time really can't stand the passing of time. The Li family's Zhuangzi is not bad. Although Li Sun left, the people of Zhuangzi still recognize Li Sun as their master. They even arranged a marriage with our people of Zhuangzi. Before the new year, they held a banquet. Didn't you hear the villagers say that it was very extravagant? Just the hot air balloons alone were rented. The 4 people of Zhuangzi all went to the banquet. Taking advantage of the half-price discount between the clouds and the water, they booked all the surrounding pavilions. Many people who went there to play cursed. In the end, they had no choice but to invite the people who went there to play as well. Only then did the matter calm down. That wedding cost at least 8,000 strings of cash, if not 10,000 strings of cash. They are really willing to spend money. How can they not be willing? He is marrying our daughter of Zhuangzi. How can 10,000 strings of cash be considered money? Just you wait. When we get married, look at what I have prepared for you. That's... Are you trying to kill me? Zhang Xiaobao was proud. He puffed out his chest as Wang Wan pressed his head into the basin of hot water. Wang Wan chuckled. Hurry up and wash up. Aren't you good at swimming? Look at how well you have taught your sister. She even dares to jump into the Yellow River, and can even fling her clothes in the air. If there is a diving competition, she will be considered an athlete. Don't brag about your achievements. I know you are capable and rich. You have made Beijing people want to keep a low profile when they want to get married. You only know how to use money to cheat your wife. How can you brush your teeth so cleanly? Brush your teeth for a while more. Zhang Xiaobao had just taken out the toothbrush from his mouth, but he had no choice but to put it back. He continued. After he was done, he let out a sigh of relief. I can't let you follow me around next time. It's so torturous. On the day of the wedding, I will prepare slightly less. I will only spend a few dozen strings of cash. For ordinary people, a few dozen strings of cash is considered a big banquet. You dare? I want the best wedding. It's your fault for making so much money. Wang Wan objected again. Let me give you a plane, okay? The kind with double wings. I don't have the ability to fly at supersonic speeds. It's easy to fly. Install 2 diesel engines and fly. When the time comes, we will fly on the Yellow River, and not go anywhere else. If something goes wrong, we can jump down. What do you think will happen if we get a few planes on the Yellow River? Zhang Xiaobao opened his arms and flew towards the direction of the dining room. Wang Wan quickened her pace and entered the house first. When Zhang Xiaobao flew in, she said, with your flying speed and height, a stone can show the effect. It's not important that you can fly. What's important is how much you can carry. Who says it's not important? What are we eating this morning? Master Zhang, what did you make? Is this porridge? Zhang Xiaobao sat at the table and looked at the food in the bowl. He did not recognize what it was. There was something black in the bowl. It was cooked like paste. This was not to his taste. He liked to drink soy milk, the kind without sugar. It's dog food. Zhang Hu found it and asked me to make it. Puppies just came out. Female dogs don't have milk. He waited all night yesterday, but the milk has not been squeezed out. He can't wait, so he asked me to make some porridge first. Master Zhang, who made breakfast, directly told him what was in the bowl. Okay, I'll taste it and see if it's suitable for dogs. Zhang Xiaobao said and lowered his head to eat. Wang Wan stopped him. Zhang Hu knows whether it's edible or not. If you eat it, what if the puppies don't have enough to eat? Wang Wan did not think that Zhang Xiaobao ate dog food. The dogs raised by Zhang Hu were good helpers, just like Zhang Ying's Shui Yun. When they hunted with their masters, the dogs were really risking their lives. Even tigers were afraid of bears, but the dogs would rush up to protect their masters. She was really worried that if they did not make enough food, the puppies would starve. I don't have any status in the family. Master Zhang, I eat soy milk and youtiao. Cuckoo eats porridge and steamed buns. What's the filling for the steamed buns today? Zhang Xiaobao had to put the food that the puppies ate on another table and ordered something. There are a few dandelions growing in the greenhouse of the Sinong Temple. They were sent here, and I wrapped them into steamed buns. I don't know if you like it. What Master Zhang meant was that he thought the best today was this. If she was not used to it, there were other options. Wang Wan was happy when she heard that. It was just the beginning of spring. and the dandelions had not grown yet. It was really good to eat them. She nodded and said, "Just eat this. Don't eat porridge. Change it to tofu pudding with meat sauce." Master Zhang quickly sent the food over, and went back to teach his apprentice how to make breakfast. He told his apprentice what breakfast should be like, and what the master usually liked to eat. Although it looked simple, it was very particular. Zhang Xiaobao picked up the youtiao with chopsticks and pressed it into the soy milk. He took it out and took a sip. He closed his eyes and savored the taste for a moment. He said, "It's good that I can eat something in the morning. I like this. People should be content. For example, when the oldest plane is built, it doesn't need to fly too fast. It just needs to be able to carry people. Reconnaissance planes are more useful than hot air balloons. If you carry 3 people, 2 of them can become airborne soldiers. During a battle, they can be thrown to key positions such as the enemy's back, and scare them to death." Wang Wan did not immediately answer. She ate in small bites. When she ate a steamed bun, she first praised Master Zhang's good cooking skills. Then she said to Zhang Xiaobao, "There are still some small territories in our territory. There are still a few small countries in the territory we occupy. Before the war starts, you should deal with them first. I don't want to be stabbed in the back like that guy surnamed Gao. He fought the war smoothly but neglected many things. In the end he lost. Once he lost, it was all over. It's different. We are not like that guy surnamed Gao. He only wants to use force to conquer. I have other means. When the time comes, I will give them an order in advance and ask them to raise Chinese medicinal herbs or more yaks. I will give them money first, and then send more food over. It's easy to fight them, but after the fight, who will live there? If you ask people from Jiangnan to go there, 8 out of 10 people will die of illness. People in the northeast can't do it either. They can't adapt to the climate. It's like Tufan. Now it's said to belong to the Tang Empire, but it's still Zizenchild who was released to take charge of the affairs there. We have to do it bit by bit, and let people adapt to the environment there. Only then can it truly become a place of the Tang Empire." Zhang Xiaobao didn't stop eating while talking. After a while, a fried dough stick was in his stomach. This was not a single one, but a double one. He also finished the soy milk. He carried the bowl to the kitchen and said, "Master Zhang, one more bowl. I'm thirsty today." Master Zhang personally poured the soy milk for him, and then turned around to busy himself with his disciple. It was as if he didn't hear what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said at all. Because he and his disciple were the inner courtyard of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, they knew the rules. They didn't avoid talking about the master's family. Wang Wan was still eating in small bites. When she saw Zhang Xiaobao coming back, she suddenly thought of something and said, "Xiaobao, I just remembered that Zizenchild is coming over. He said 2 months before the new year, so he should be here soon. He said that Princess Jincheng is homesick, and is bringing him back for a visit." "There's such a thing? Okay, then let's invite them to watch the military selections. Don't give him a chance to be arrogant. The weapons used during the sword meet of Hua Mountain are much worse compared to now. Princess Jincheng is having a good life now, right?" Zhang Xiaobao stopped eating and followed Wang Wan's words. "How can it not be good? You scared them like that. A woman who should have the least status is now in Tufan. Her words are more effective than Zizenchild's. This shows that Tufan is not democratic enough. Otherwise they wouldn't be like this," Wang Wan said casually. Zhang Xiaobao curled his lips and said, "Don't mention democracy. Everything is relative. Democracy is their own business. Speaking of this, I have to say a few words. Don't look at me." Speaking up to this point, Zhang Xiaobao's mouth was moving, but his voice was gone. "Even though I was always outside at that time, I didn't look down on the country. That's because I knew that those who looked down on the country should feel lucky that there was a country that they didn't see as good. That's why they had the chance to look down on this country when they were enjoying equality and democracy outside. The stronger this country that they looked down on was, the more democracy they could enjoy outside, and the more they could look down on it. However, when this country was gone one day, they would have to consider whether they would be looked down on by others when they wanted to look down on them again. The Jews used to be so powerful and controlled a large group of non-Jews. In the end, They didn't have a country and were killed like animals. Later, they had to find a place to revive their country. That was how they got their status. That's why I never scold my own country when I'm outside. I can nitpick and oppose some situations, but I'm really worried that she's gone. If that's the case, I'll be a real animal. It won't be as simple as being scolded as an animal by the people living in this country, when I scold this country. Wang Wan nodded silently and didn't say anything. Eating the buns, she felt that the person she should thank the most was the director. Not far from Chang and in a place that was only a day's journey, there was also someone who was thanking her country. She was the princess of Jincheng Li Nunu. In October before the new year, she wanted to come back and take a look, so she made this request to Zizhen Child. Zizhen Child didn't say anything. He immediately organized people and started to prepare all kinds of things. There were gifts, tributes to the emperor of Tang Empire, and little things to give to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Then the group set off slowly. During the new year of Tang Empire, they were all on the road. Hearing the sound of firecrackers from time to time, Zizhen Child would always think of that letter, the sound of the firecrackers on Mount Hua. That letter said, "West meets Brahma, north is full of grass. Yazhou hangs, Penglai immortals. For barbarians come to court. 8 sides celebrate together. I invite you to visit Mount Hua to discuss the sword." Then he came. He was forced to come because his wife wrote a letter to Zhang Xiaobao and the others. There was also a letter inviting his wife. Oh, that letter had many mistakes. It was written by Zhang Xiaobei. From then on, Tufan didn't seem to belong to him anymore. "Husband, look, the grass is green again. There are some places where the snow hasn't melted, but the grass is already growing." The carriage that Princess Jincheng was in also had glass windows. She pulled open the curtains and looked outside happily. She was talking to Zizhen Child. She changed the way she addressed him because Zizhen Child was no longer the king of Tufan. He was just a governor of a province. "That's right, another spring has arrived. This time, I brought you back because I want to stay for a few more days. I heard that Xiaobao and Cuckoo followed the emperor to the north of Hebei province before the new year. After the imperial examinations, I don't know what they are planning to do. Sai, they finally have some free time." Zizhen Child looked at Li Nunu beside him. His heart was filled with emotions. Li Nunu was indeed beautiful and had a good upbringing. But when they were in Tufan, he didn't need to pay too much attention to her. If he doted on her a little, she would be very grateful. Now that she was in a good mood, he felt more at ease. It wasn't important whether she was a weak woman or not. What was important was her identity, her status in Great Tang and Great Tang's strength. In the past, the princesses that were married off were treated like weeds. Now the pigs and dogs that were given away were treated like treasures. This was because Zhang Xiaobao had said, "In the Great Tang, let alone a person, even a dog would not be killed by any country." Princess Jincheng Li Nunu was very clear on how she obtained her status. In the past, when she was in Tufan, her husband was bullied by his other wives. She was always worried that she couldn't coax her husband. When she was bullied, her husband wouldn't even say a word of fairness. Now in Tufan, who dared to not look at her face? Even Xiaobei calls me aunt. Can't I control you all? Could it be that I have to call Xiaobao and Cuckoo over and ask the hundreds of thousands of soldiers stationed nearby to come over? Just like how I came back this time. I can come back as I wish. I don't care if you all have to wait for the new year or not. If anyone is unconvinced, come forward. Li Nunu was very grateful to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Without them, she wouldn't be where she was now. Of course, Li Nunu also knew what Zhu Zanqi meant. Just like the previous time, he wanted her to help put in a good word for him. Especially, he wanted her to think of a way to meet Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and ask them about their plans. That's right, he was asking the two of them what the Great Tang would do to Tubo. Would they suddenly kill Zuzan of Red Virtue and send someone else here? She also didn't want them to kill her husband. After all, he was her husband. Furthermore, she already had a son who was almost 2 years old. This time, she brought him back for everyone to take a look. Princess Jincheng didn't know that from what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew, she didn't have this son. Instead, she had another son who was very controversial. Hearing Zhu Zanqi's words, Li Nunu thought for a long time before saying, "Husband, you don't have to think too much. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo won't send troops to Tufan again. Furthermore, husband is managing that place well." When Zhu Zanqi heard his wife's words of assurance, he finally felt a little relieved. He said, "Then I still have to meet Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, as well as Xiaobei and the others. I miss Xiaobei too. What a good child." When Zhu Zanqi spoke, he was very sincere. He knew that he had to constantly think that he was a family with great Tang. Otherwise, if he showed even a little bit of dissatisfaction, Zhang Xiaobao would realize that Zhang Xiaobao shouldn't exist in this world. He was clearly a demon. He still remembered that when the team from the sword competition on Mount Hua was blocked by a protruding rock, he rushed over and said, "I'll do it." Tufan was schemed against time and time again because of him. However, he still wanted to ask them what they were going to do this year. They couldn't have set their sights on Tufan, right? Tufan had already recognized the status of a local government. Yes, he wanted to ask the two of them. In Great Tang, Li Longji would support whoever they wanted to attack. Li Longji rarely schemed against such things. Unless he had a good idea, or if some country's envoy angered him. It was only at this time that he would take the initiative to care about Great Tang's foreign wars. However, even if he went to war, he would still ask for advice from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He would send other generals to attack first. If they couldn't win after a long time, that country would have to pray for its own good. This was because at that time, Li Longji would probably send Wang Wan to battle. If it was just Wang Wan, it would just be a clash of swords. What he feared the most was that Zhang Xiaobao would play tricks behind the scenes. Zhang Xiaobao's methods were almost always to destroy the enemy. When Zhu Zanqi thought of this, he sighed, "Sighs. Madam, to be honest, I am really unwilling to accept this. I lost so vexingly. In a daze, I was schemed against by Zhang Xiaobao. Only then did I know that a knife doesn't have to be used to kill people." Princess Jincheng understood Zhu Zanqi very well. However, understanding was one thing. She couldn't agree with him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have her current status. She could only persuade him. "Husband, the lives of the people in Tufan are much better than before. In the past, they would always come over to steal things. When did they not die? It's because we don't have enough food. Now that our food supply is slightly affected, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo will immediately send a large amount of food over. Not only will we be able to eat delicious rice and noodles, we will also be able to eat seafood by the seaside. In the past, we could only eat fried and barbecued food. It's because Xiao Bao and Cuckoo didn't say that there wasn't enough pressure, and that we couldn't cook rice with water. Last year, they sent something called a pressure cooker. We can steam rice and eat it. I used to eat it when I was in Tang Dynasty. That pressure cooker has some kind of sealing technology. They weren't worried that we would leak it out. They even sent us a lot of radio stations so that we could send the news over in time. Last year, there was a heavy snowfall. If there wasn't a radio station, how many people would have died? After we sent out the news, 7 days later, the horses that they sent over came. Didn't you understand before? That time, they exhausted more than 3,000 horses. Isn't that good? Good. It's indeed better than before. Even though Zhu Zanqi wasn't willing to admit it from his perspective, when he evaluated objectively, he couldn't help but admit that Tang Dynasty did a good job. When Zhang Xiaobao was scheming against the Tufan Empire, he was sharp. But when he helped them, he was just as swift. More than 3,000 horses died from exhaustion or cold just to deliver the goods. He didn't even say a word. When the person who delivered the goods came over, he asked about how many people died, and whether there were any diseases. I know that they are good, and I know that they are amazing. Last summer, you said that you wanted to eat drunken crabs. You even specially ordered the Lake Tai drunken crabs. In the end, they immediately picked out the best crabs. While the southeast wind was blowing, they took over 30 hot air balloons and flew to our place. Along the way, they used the water from Lake Tai to raise the crabs. In autumn, which was right before you returned to Tang Dynasty, they sent the crabs over. At that time, the crabs were ready to be eaten. They cooked them in front of us. When I was the king, I couldn't do this. I know that they didn't just send us crabs. They also wanted to show Tang Dynasty's strength. But I'm afraid that they... When Zuzan said this, he didn't know what to say. If he said that he was afraid of death, he would be too weak. But if he didn't say it clearly, he was worried that he would be killed. Princess Jincheng quickly persuaded. No, my husband, we have always been together. There's also our little Tang Puzan. Even if it was according to the thoughts of the previous emperor, if my brother emperor wanted to kill someone, Xiaobao and Cuckoo would not agree. Xiaobao likes children the most. Zuzan thought for a while and nodded. I know. I hope that little Tang Puzan can be liked by Xiaobao. Tomorrow, we will arrive at the capital. I heard that the capital is bigger than before. That night, Princess Jincheng and the others set up camp in the wilderness. They didn't want to trouble other people, so they stayed in tents. They were used to staying in tents. When Zuzan was waiting for dinner, he suddenly found something. His subordinates reported that after entering Tang Dynasty, the soldiers in charge of protecting every place should be the soldiers of Shannon East Road. Hearing this news, Zuzan was not happy. He thought that the other party was not guarding against him. Instead, he became worried. He thought that the other party was looking for an excuse to get rid of him. So he quickly went into Princess Jincheng's tent and picked up his son. No matter what, he didn't want to go out. It was too dangerous outside. Princess Jincheng was also a little nervous. If Zuzan died, what would she do? No matter what happened in the past, they had been together for so many years. They even had a son. She didn't want her child to lose his father. Just when the two of them were worried that the child would be curious about everything, the curtain of the tent was lifted. A soldier came in and said in a panic, "There are people coming from the direction of Chang'an. There are many of them." Listening to the sound of the horses, we can't guess how many people there are. What? Zuzan was shocked. He ordered the soldier who came in, check and report again. The soldier obeyed and left. Zuzan lost all his strength and threw his son to the ground. The child started crying. At this time, Princess Jincheng pulled out her knife and said to Zuzan, "Husband, don't worry. If they want to deal with you, I will die in front of them." Zuzan was really touched. He couldn't pull out his knife. Let's die together. At this time, it was suddenly bright outside and a lot of light shone down from the sky. Needless to say, Zuzan and Princess Jincheng knew that the light was from the hot air balloon. They heard that the great Tang had developed a new thing that was very useful and could do anything. The two of them took a deep breath. Suddenly, a voice came from outside. Tang Dynasty's emperor has arrived. Hebei Province's Jidushi Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan have arrived. With a pa sound, the two of them dropped their knives and heaved a sigh of relief. The emperor of Tang Dynasty, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had arrived. Naturally, they weren't here to kill anyone. There was no need to alarm the three of them. If anything were to go wrong during the killing, the three of them would be finished. The entire Tang Dynasty would be finished as well. Li Longji had indeed arrived. When he heard that Zuzan was coming, he looked for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to discuss whether they should go and take a look. Zhang Xiaobao thought about it and finally agreed. If he didn't agree, Li Longji wouldn't be able to come. This meant that he wasn't prepared and was in danger. However, Wang Wan, who was accompanying him, knew very well that Zhang Xiaobao wanted to see a child. A child who was about the same age as Pan Er. As for danger, what danger could there be? When they arrived, the guards had to be changed to Tang Dynasty's soldiers. They couldn't let Zuzan's guards stand by the side. Thus, the three of them came out on horseback. Li Longji didn't have an imperial carriage. That thing was too troublesome and slow. Most importantly, Li Longji's personality had become very mild. He felt that putting on airs in front of his sister was too hypocritical. What was the point? Back then, his sister had married him for the sake of peace between Tang Dynasty and Tubo. She had suffered a lot in the beginning. At that time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan hadn't fully revealed their abilities. If he really wanted to blame someone, he could only blame himself for being useless. He had sent his sister away, regardless of whether she was his biological sister or a distant relative. Who would dare to propose a marriage alliance with him now? According to Zhang Xiaobao and Cuckoo, if they couldn't deal with him, Tang Dynasty no longer needed to sell women in exchange for peace. Whoever dared to cause trouble would have a taste of guns and cannons. Thus, Li Longji always felt that he had let down his sister, Princess Jincheng. When he came to welcome them, he just rode a horse and didn't put on any airs. In the sky, there was also a group of eagles led by Shui Yun. They were responsible for part of the protection mission. Shui Yun's children were already able to fly. However, his 11 children were still unable to do so. Their bodies were too big, and he was afraid that the children's wings wouldn't be able to handle it. One was probably because of good genes, and the other was because they had sufficient nutrition. With 11 children, even if they wanted to eat grasshoppers in winter, the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family would still prepare it for them. That was how arrogant they were. They didn't care about money. They had strength. Thus, the intelligent Shui Yun decided to wait a while before letting the children learn to fly. She had to inform the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family first and have them prepare everything. Otherwise, what would she do if they fell to their deaths? She had to be good to her own children. There was nothing to be afraid of if they could fly later. She couldn't compare them to other eagles. What was there to compare? Could the children of other eagles sleep in nests made of cotton flowers? Could they eat lamb every day? In this way, even if Li Longji didn't show off the imperial carriage of an emperor, he was still very awe-inspiring. Just by looking at the eagle in the sky that covered the stars and blocked the moon, ordinary people couldn't enjoy it. When the sound of horses' hooves surrounded the tent, Zuzan and his family came out. Under the illumination of the lights in the sky, they saw the flag of the Tibetan Metro Cavalry Battalion, followed by the Imperial Army, followed by the Jinwu Guards, and finally the flag of the rice seedlings, which was the protection team of the rice seedlings. Li Longji and his family's horses came over. He didn't need others to take care of him. He directly turned over and dismounted from the horse to show his horse skills. Under the accompaniment of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he came to the front of Zuzan and his family. This slave greets the emperor. Princess Jincheng was so moved that she was about to cry. Her eyes were red. The emperor personally came to greet her. She knew that he was giving her face. Li Longji nodded to her and took 2 steps forward to help Zuzan, who was about to kneel down and kowtow. He didn't let him kneel down and said, "You're finally here. I've been looking forward to it every day. Ever since you said you were coming, I've been counting the days and asked people to report to me several times a day. It's too slow. Why don't you walk faster? I'm so impatient." He was very easygoing. Zhang Xiaobao was very nervous. He was really afraid that Zuzan would suddenly pull out a knife. Wang Wan also prepared the knife in her sleeve. At this time, the use of a gun was not very useful. It was too close to the enemy. It was not as convenient as a knife. Zuzan was stunned for a moment. He had imagined countless possibilities, but he had never imagined that the emperor of the Great Tang would not ask for him to be excused, nor did he put on airs. Instead, he very naturally supported him and did not let him kneel. Then he said something that ordinary people would say when their relatives came. At this time, Li Longji spoke again. "We'll talk later. There's no need to be polite. Carry my nephew over, and let me see. Isn't he very handsome? Xiaobao, Cuckoo, you two also take a look. It's a pity that you were far away when you were born, so you didn't see it. Xiaobao, you have to build the railway as soon as possible. When Nu's second child is born, I have to see it personally. Otherwise, I won't be at ease." Zuzan's tears began to flow. He had never imagined that the emperor of the Great Tang, Li Longji, would become like this. The words he said were truly heartwarming. The sovereign of a country was speaking to him, the sovereign of a fallen country, in such a manner. At first glance, he didn't care about him and Nu. But he mentioned his son, which meant that he didn't regard him as an outsider. Otherwise, why did Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan appear in the Tang Empire? The emperor was so good. He couldn't compare to him. Zuzan was very happy today. There was something flying in the sky, and it was so bright. The night was almost the same as the day. There was also a person who smiled and made him feel very comfortable hugging him. Beside them, there were 2 people who were also smiling. There were so many people around. It was very lively. "Xiaobao, help me with this." Li Longji took out a big jelly from his sleeve. It was wrapped in oil paper and handed it to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao didn't need to look to know that it was definitely something from the precious candy house. He cursed in his heart. Li Longji, you are too careless. You even want something that belongs to my younger brother and sister. Do you think it's easy for them to earn some money? However, his hands didn't stop moving. With a flip of his hand, the knife first came out. Then, he kept it back and replaced it with another small knife wrapped in oil paper. He cut the jelly into small pieces and carried it over with the oil paper. Zuzan looked at Zhang Xiaobao's movements. His body couldn't help but tremble. He understood. Just now, Zhang Xiaobao was ready to kill at any time. That knife changed too quickly. Li Longji didn't care about what other people thought. He used a very small spoon to scoop up a small piece of jelly and fed it to Zuzan. He said, "My good nephew, try this. This is the jelly from the precious candy house. It's very expensive." Zuzan didn't know what precious candy house was. When he saw food, he opened his mouth and ate it. When his tongue touched the jelly, he narrowed his eyes. The taste was really good. The texture was also not bad. He swallowed it in 2 mouths and continued to ask for more. He even said in a vague voice, "Good, good, delicious." Of course, how can the things from the precious candy house not be delicious? This is something that your sister Xiaobei and other brothers and sisters eat. Zuzan knew you guys try it too. It will be convenient for you to eat it in the future. Li Longji kissed Tang Puzan and said. Zuzan wasn't stupid. He immediately realized that the last sentence was not simple. He really took a small piece and stuffed it into his mouth. He asked, "Your Majesty, is Xiaobei's precious candy house going to open a branch there?" It's not just the precious candy house. Many businesses have to open there. Xiaobao said that the railway is too difficult, but the land road also needs to be fixed. At least hundreds of thousands of people need to transport food. 1 year later in the northwest, Xiaobao and Cuckoo will make a move. Li Longji was still chatting casually. Zuzan's heart twitched. He said seriously, "Your Majesty, this subject understands. This subject guarantees that the logistics and transportation will be unimpeded. This subject will bring my head to you. It's not a big deal. It's a small matter. When the time comes, I will also go to your place for a stroll. I always wanted to go, but I never had the chance. The main reason is that the people in the court opposed it. Fortunately, Xiaobao and Cuckoo supported it. When I go, there will be a lot of good things. You should prepare to receive them." Li Longji was still so peaceful. Chapter 990. Hearing Li Longji's words, Zizhenchai's heart was both warm and shocked. Li Longji's words implied that he did not intend to transfer him to the capital and wanted him to stay in his original place. He was shocked that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were finally going to make a move. After a period of silence, he pointed his sword at Duoshi. Yes, Duoshi, not those small countries. Fighting those small countries was not worth the two of them personally making a move. Furthermore, his own country was gone, so how could those small countries dare to not submit? Zhang Xiaobao and Zizhenchai probably just need to send a messenger, and those small countries would submit. Princess Jincheng was relieved and was also happy. "Your Majesty, what are the good things? It would be best if they are horses that can farm." At that time, a large number of horses were exchanged for food to Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Princess Jincheng said that it was an exchange, but in reality, it was a gift. Since there was no resistance, why did Tubo still need so many horses? Could it be that they were still thinking of reviving their country? Thus, they were all given to the Iron Cavalry camp in Tubo. The Iron Cavalry camp used them to fight a few battles. They were all Tubo's nobles who did not agree to submit. In the end, they were trained by Wang Wan into 8 battalions of elite cavalry. Although there were only 8,000 people, as long as there were not many mountains and rivers, they could destroy cities and strongholds. Li Longji thought for a while and waved his hand. The horses are gone. They were all taken out by Xiaobao and rented to the people here. There are steam engines for you to use. The Ministry of Works is still researching hydroelectric power. It is very difficult. When the time comes, if they can make a small unit, they will send it to you. However, this thing requires too much technology and must be heavily guarded. If it is attacked, It is better to destroy it than to let it fall into the hands of others. My main purpose is to deliver seeds to you. Corn, potato, and other seeds can't always eat highland barley. Wudo Wudo eat. When Tang Puzan heard the familiar name, he clasped his hands together and made a eating action. He did not forget to wipe his mouth with the back of his hands. As soon as he did this, everyone understood that he had eaten the roasted potato and had a black mark on his mouth. Ancestor Chida's eyes lit up. Last year, he had eaten various new varieties of food that the great Tang had sent to Li Nunu. The taste was really good, but it was a pity that it was gone after a few tries. There were many people, and they all wanted to try it. It was said that the requirements for the growing environment were not too high, and the output was high. There was also news that the various nobles in the capital were going crazy over this year's seeds. If they could really go over and plant them, the lives of the people in his area would be much better. Those 2 years without food would be really hard to bear. Thinking of this, Ancestor Chida couldn't help but look at Zhang Xiaobao. It was all his fault. He had used all kinds of underhanded methods. Zhang Xiaobao pretended not to know. He reached out and took Tang Puzan over. He hugged him and said, "Potato, let's eat potatoes again today, okay?" Tang Puzan probably understood. He swallowed twice and wiped the corner of his mouth to express his agreement. "A child came once, and you gave her a potato?" Wang Wan said unhappily. "Are potatoes not good? If it's not good to eat, it means that the person who made it is not good enough. I'll roast potato chips for her to eat. Roast them until they are golden brown and crispy, and then put tomato sauce on them." Zhang Xiaobao retorted. Ancestor Chida and Princess Jincheng looked and listened. They were completely relaxed. Zhang Xiaobao really liked children. He was willing to personally cook for his son to eat. Princess Jincheng took Wang Wan's hand and pushed a string of beads from her arm to Wang Wan's arm. She said with a smile, "Cuckoo is getting more and more beautiful. It makes people feel happy when they look at you." Wang Wan glanced at the string of beads and understood. The golden outer layer was wrapped with smaller red beads inside. There were 12 of them. This was the Z beads, the top-grade Z beads. If this string was sold in Chang, and it would cost 500,000 strings of coins, there would be people who would fight to buy it. This kind of golden and red color, this kind of jelly-like texture, it was usually difficult to find one, let alone 12 of the same size. But it was really a treasure. However, Wang Wan understood the value, but she didn't seem to be excited. She accepted it with a smile. "Thank you, Princess." "Don't call me Princess, call me sister. I'm not much older than you. Princess is too far away." Princess Jincheng didn't expect a string of Z beads to make the other party not dare to accept it. If it was an ordinary person, not to mention giving it to them, they would probably be scared to death. But what was Wang Wan's identity? With Zhang Xiaobao's money box next to her, why would she care about jewelry? How many people were shocked when Najing shocked? Countless gold and silver were scattered. Just the house made of crystal made countless people tremble, not to mention the countless hot air balloons covering the sky above Chang, and she was already giving face by accepting the gift. Perhaps she would give a more valuable gift in return. As expected, Wang Wan accepted the gift and agreed with the title of Princess Jincheng. She said, "Sister Nunu, Xiaobao and I came in a hurry and didn't prepare anything. We also brought a pair of little turtles. They're still alive. I want to give them to you to raise." "Men, bring the pair of little guys that Lu Zhou sent here." Immediately, someone came over with a tray covered by a layer of silk. The tray was brought to Wang Wan. Wei Wei squatted next to her. Wang Wan lifted the silk and revealed the glass jar inside. The glass jar was not expensive. What was precious was the 2 little turtles. They were actually hawksbill turtles. If one didn't measure them carefully, they would be the same size, the size of a palm. When the light shone on them, they opened their eyes and looked outside curiously. Princess Jincheng had seen the world, but when she saw the so-called little turtles, she could not help but take a deep breath. Everyone, including Li Longji and Zhu Zan, was shocked by the pair of hawksbill turtles. This was because the patterns on the back of the 2 tortoiseshell that were bigger on one side were almost exactly the same. Even the shade of the color couldn't be seen at once. The rest of the tortoiseshell's shell patterns were evenly distributed like squares. There was a small circle in the middle, and in the circle there were inhuman words. One of them had the word li, while the other had the word gui. Just taking out one of them was enough to show its value, let alone two of them at the same time. The meaning behind this was extraordinary. Alright, I've seen it now. Xiaobao, you're really rich. You're quite capable as well. I can't believe you can take out such things. Li Longji did not expect to see such a pair of hawksbill turtles. Compared to the Tian jewels, they were even better. Princess Jincheng sighed softly and said to Zhu Zan, "Husband, do you like these two things?" Zhu Zan looked at the pair of tortoiseshell shells with complicated feelings. He understood what Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan meant. One was polite and the other was noble. It was a saying that the use of politeness is precious. This came from the Analects of Confucius. It meant that he, who was once the king of Tubo, had to admit his current position, be polite, and behave in peace. It did not mean that everyone should live in peace and be friends. There was absolutely no such meaning. These two words were from the Analects of Confucius. It meant that he had to admit defeat and follow the lead of great Tang. Tubo would no longer have a country. As long as he accepted these two little guys, it would mean that he had admitted his position as a direct subordinate. From today onwards, he could forget about reviving his country. What if he did not accept them? Once he thought of the consequences, Zhu Zan could not help but tremble. He immediately said happily, "I like them. They are so beautiful. It's just that your majesty can't go back on your promise. If I accept these two hawksbill turtles, your majesty will have to send the items over." Li Longji and Wang Wan quickly said, "Don't keep calling us subjects. We are a family. With you there I can rest assured. When the time comes, we will only send more and not less. You have to keep an eye on the key technical items." At this moment, Li Longji was also filled with emotions. They thought about how Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had forced Zhu Zan to accept his position as a gift. It was just a pair of hawksbill turtles. From today onwards, Tubo would belong to him. How much would these two little turtles be worth? Even the jade annulus of He clan, which could be exchanged for 15 cities, could not compare to these two turtles. What was that string of Tian jewels worth? Xiaobao and Cuckoo were indeed powerful. They were really the sea stabilizers in the stories they told to Xiaobei and the others. They could rule the country internally and help the people externally. Zhu Zan and Princess Jincheng accepted the two hawksbill turtles. Regardless of the additional meaning of this item, just the two items themselves were already priceless. If they were not given together, it would be even better if one of them was given out alone. Regardless of whether it was a gift or a gift, the value of each one was much higher than that of the string of zi beads. Since they had accepted the items, Zhu Zan had also thought it through. What else could they do? Revive the country? With Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan around, they could dream on. Their cannons were not just for decoration. 5 beans. At this time the little girl, Tang Puzan, who was in Zhang Xiaobao's arms, looked at the jelly in Li Longji's hand and pointed at it. "Well, 5 beans it is. It's fine as long as you like it. Don't worry and eat it. Baby, there are no additives in the candy house. It's just that the shelf life is a little short. Additives can't be made." Zhang Xiaobao did not correct Tang Puzan's words. He took the jelly from Li Longji and began to feed it to Tang Puzan. Wang Wan looked around and said to Princess Jincheng, "Sister, let's continue to go to the city. The construction there is still not finished. It's still working. It's more lively on the road." Princess Jincheng heard this and went to see Zhu Zan. She was not sleepy. If it were not for the large group, she would have gone in directly. Zhu Zan was not sleepy either. He had been on tenterhooks before, but now he became energetic again. Since Wang Wan said to let them enter the city, they could naturally go in. They did not have to worry about walking too fast when they were close to Chang, and in causing misunderstandings. There was also no need to report in advance. The emperor was next to them. Who should he report to? The Ministry of Rights? There was no need. So he nodded. "Thank you for coming, Your Majesty. Shall we go?" "Let's go, can we ride?" Li Longji asked Zhu Zan if he could ride a horse. He looked at Princess Jincheng. He was afraid that his sister could not ride a horse. As for Zuzan, how could he not know how to ride a horse? Zuzan did not stupidly explain that he could ride a horse. That would be stupid. Instead he said, "This slave also likes to ride a horse." "That's good. Get on the horse, let's go home." Li Longji stretched out his hand and asked for the reins. Zuzan and Princess Jincheng also followed and got on the horse. They looked down at Zhang Xiaobao. They were looking at their son in his arms. They didn't want him to fall. Wang Wan looked at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao did not care and put Tang Puzan in his right hand. He jumped up directly. After jumping up, he patted the horse's neck with his left hand and then straightened his waist. His body was flat on the horse's back. He twisted his waist and swung his right leg. He steadily landed on the horse's back with Tang Puzan in his arms. He did not even touch the reins. Wang Wan used the same movement to get on the horse. She did not carry the child. She was lighter. There was a burst of applause around. Li Longji once again said to Zuzan, "The two of them like to play around. When I first paid attention to the two of them, they were still very young. This big." Li Longji stretched out his hand and gestured. No one knew how big he was compared. He continued, "Then they followed Shang to play outside. When something happened at home, the two of them cooperated with each other to get on the big horse. Xiaobao used his hand to hold Cuckoo's leg. Cuckoo ran over and jumped on the horse. Then she pulled Xiaobao up. Her riding skills are amazing." Zhang Xiaobao did not refute Li Longji. He did not say, "Do you know who I am at that time?" Instead he shouted to the sky, "Shui Yin, let's go home. Retreat. Retreat." Tang Pusan, who was in Zhang Xiaobao's arms, stopped crying out happily when he was carried onto the horse. He also looked up at the sky and shouted. Shui Yin swooped down at a low altitude and let out a cry above Zhang Xiaobao's head. Then, it returned to the sky and let out another cry to the surrounding group of eagles. A group of eagles circled above the group and protected them as they headed towards the capital. Using the light, Zuzan deliberately looked at the eagle with white feathers in the sky. This was the Shui Yun that Li Longji had conferred the title of general. It was an eagle that had once looked down on all the heroes in the sky of Tubo. It was an eagle that could cooperate with sneak attacks. It was an eagle that could scout in the sky like a human. It was an eagle that could defeat all of the eagles in the sky if there were less than 10 of them. It was an eagle that could cooperate with Zhang Xiaobao to use a spear and knew how to scheme against other eagles in the sky. It was such a plaything. When he and the others arrived at the Tang Empire, they heard from storytellers that it already had children. It even had 11 of them. Its glory was all based on the failure of their side, Tubo. Princess Jincheng also looked up. She liked Shui Yun and still remembered the storyteller's evaluation of Shui Yun. In Lingtian, who dares to fly the Peng's wings, guarding 1,000 miles of the Peng alone? How heroic was this? At that time, Tubo had also sent eagles over. In the end, there were only a few eagles in the beginning. They were actually intimidated by Shui Yun and did not dare to fly. Later on, when more eagles arrived, they did not dare to do anything to Shui Yun. The heroes of the sky were only SOSO. Perhaps only people like Xiaobao and Cuckoo were qualified to own Shui Yun. Shui Yun did not care about those who were not strong. Eagles had their own pride. Yes. A child's heart was the purest. Tang Pusan also took a fancy to Shui Yun at first glance. He might not understand Shui Yun's domineering aura, but he was able to like Shui Yun first and not other eagles because Shui Yun was also so agile. No more this year. All 11 of them have been divided. Your little brothers and sisters will each get one. There are still 2 left. You can ask His Majesty for them. Zhang Xiaobao was up to no good. He pointed at Li Longji and said to Tang Pusan. Tang Pusan immediately looked at Li Longji and kept blinking. It looked like tears were about to flow out of his eyes. Li Longji was depressed. Xiaobao, I don't want those 2. I will give them to Juner and Pan. You can decide. There are only 11 in total. I will give them to whoever you want. Zhang Xiaobao was confused. What should he do? Shui Yun and Hong Wan only had 11 children. Fortunately, he and the others had taken good protective measures and didn't let other children who were born before them push their younger siblings down. As an eagle, Shui Yun also had the status of a general and could eat a salary. How many people wanted his children? There were too many monks and too little meat. Oh, there was too little porridge. It wasn't good to give them to anyone. Zhang Xiaobao looked up at the white in the sky and shouted, "Shui Yun, come down. It's all your fault. Can't you give birth to a few more? If you give birth to 15, it's only 4 more. Look at how stingy you are." Shui Yun replied with a cry. Everyone could hear the dissatisfaction in his cry. "Come down first. Let's discuss. You can play with the little guy for a while. The sky doesn't need you, right? Come, give me a gun. I will support him." Zhang Xiaobao continued to talk to Shui Yun. He asked for another gun. He put it on his shoulder and held the gun with his hand. Under the gaze of Princess Jincheng and Zhu Zan, Shui Yun really did come down. He stood on the gun and lowered his head to look at Tang Puzan. Tang Puzan wasn't afraid at all. He stretched out his small hands and made gestures. He said something that no one could hear clearly to express his excitement. At this moment, Zhu Zan was finally convinced. No wonder Shui Yun could be made a general. He was too smart. How was he an eagle? He was clearly a human. He had seen people raise dogs and horses like this, but he had never heard of someone raising an eagle like this. Good eagle. A priceless treasure. If I had it, I wouldn't sell it no matter how much money you give me. Zhu Zan praised when he found that Shui Yun was very cooperative with his son's actions. Zhang Xiaobao curled his lips. Shui Yun, I have always regarded him as a brother. Who would dare to say that they would buy him? Back then I even flew side by side with him, side by side in the sky. Zhang Xiaobao didn't say anything about fighting side by side, because the loser was right next to them. Zhu Zan also didn't talk about this topic. He admired Shui Yun very much. Such an eagle could no longer be used for hunting. That would be a blasphemy to Shui Yun. When there was nothing to do, accompanying Shui Yun to eat and chat was the most normal thing to do. With envy in his heart, he said, "Xiaobao, I promise you that next year, if Shui Yun and Hong Wan, which is also very smart and beautiful big red eagle, have another child, you must leave one for my son to grow up with him." Princess Jincheng also nodded at the side. Shui Yun was really too beautiful, especially those eyes. When he looked at her son, it always made people feel that he revealed a kind of affection. When her son touched his neck, he didn't object. Would it be possible for other eagles? Who could say that Shui Yun was docile and honest? How many eagles had died under his claws and beak? How many people had died in his hands? She then said, "It seems that there's no need for next year. As long as the situation is right, Hong Wan can give birth to many children. Once every few months is enough. Isn't that right, Cuckoo?" More or less. After all, they are different from other eagles. Other eagles are affected by the pressure of survival in the 4 seasons. They give birth once a year or once every few years. They don't have to worry about food and shelter, and they don't have to worry about being disturbed. When Wang Wan heard Princess Jincheng's words, she also realized this matter. Since Shui Yun and his wife had less pressure, it should be easier to have more children. That's great. When the 2 of you go to the northwest to fight, Shui Yun and Hong Wan will be able to use their strength. Zhu Zan said enviously. At this time Li Longji spoke up. There's no need for that. This time, the military selection will be held in 2 days. By then, Cuckoo will be able to use the Aqua Cloud. Since the Aqua Cloud is not affected by hand technology, why don't we watch together? Military selection? Can the generals win against Cuckoo? I heard that Cuckoo always gives them lectures. Zhu Zan asked in surprise. That's not the case. The generals use guns and cannons, while Cuckoo commands the soldiers with swords, spears and bows. They fight in an asymmetrical sand table. Li Longji explained. That's fine. Zhu Zan's heart suddenly moved, but he calmed down in an instant. He said, "Maybe only Cuckoo can do it. I will definitely go and watch." Chapter 991. In that instant, Zizhenchai's thought was that if cold weapons could win, Even if the other party was severely injured, wouldn't his tubo be able to stand against the great Tang? Just as this thought appeared, he crushed it. He had just taken the other party's tortoiseshell, and now he was thinking about reviving his country. This was a very dangerous action, and he had to control himself. It didn't matter if Great Tang had cannons or not. What was important was whether they had Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao. They didn't have to use cannons, and it was the same as using cold weapons. Furthermore, the people of Tubo had already calmed down. Those who didn't want to submit would be hunted down and killed. Why should he think about starting a war again? Is Cuckoo confident? Princess Jincheng asked. How can there be a definite victory in a war? We can only do our best to prepare. When the time comes, we will look down on the enemy strategically and value the enemy strategically. Zhang Xiaobao carried Yitang Pusan and helped Wang Wan. It turns out that Xiaobao is also a person who understands soldiers. Princess Jincheng praised. Zhang Xiaobao's face didn't turn red, and his heart didn't panic. He calmly accepted this praise. Shuiyun also called out, appearing very happy, as though she was praising him. I know that Shuiyun knows soldiers. It's better for you to fly. I will support you with one hand, and carry the child with the other. Don't throw me down. Zhang Xiaobao felt that it was a little difficult to maintain his balance. As long as Shuiyun moved her wings, the weight on his arm would change, and it was very unstable. Shuiyun actually let out a continuous goo-goo sound, as though she was laughing. She then spread her wings and used the force of Zhang Xiaobao's push to fly up. Yitang Pusan looked up at Shuiyun in the sky and clapped his hands. Fly, fly. Okay, when we enter the capital, I will bring you to fly in a hot air balloon. Zhang Xiaobao coaxed Yitang Pusan, afraid that he still wanted Shuiyun to come down. Seeing that his son could be doted on by Zhang Xiaobao, Zuzan was very happy. He said to Li Longji, Your Majesty, do you feel tired to welcome me in the middle of the night? Zuzan knew that other than Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he was probably the first person to enjoy such treatment. To be personally welcomed by the emperor gave him a lot of face. Although the emperor said that he was welcoming his younger sister and wanted to see the child, it was still not enough. Li Longji waved his hand. I'm not tired. I don't have much to do at the moment, so I've left most of the matters to the officials. The commoners weren't like before, where they didn't have enough to eat and would always cause trouble. Now there was an announcement. No matter how far away the commoners were, they would know. If they really encountered a problem and didn't have enough to eat, they could go to the local yamen. The yamen had a house that specially served the commoners, and they could eat there. The food might not be good, and there's no money, but it can guarantee that you won't starve to death. So why are you still making a fuss? Since the officials had received the telegram, they did things very quickly. There weren't any major matters in the court. Occasionally, I would hold a court meeting to chat with the officials. Otherwise, I would meet with a group of envoys from a small country in the southwest. I listened to them talk about interesting things there, and then looked at the local specialties. They all said not to send living things over, as it's a waste of money and manpower. Furthermore, they always die. If I really want living things, I'll ask Xiaobao to send them over. It's better than them. I also don't know what Xiaobao and Cuckoo think of that place. If there's time, I'll send both the army and the navy to the Tang Empire, so that the commoners there don't have to live a hard life. Of course, I'm not their emperor, and they might not be willing to let me manage them. I also don't have good intentions. The main thing is that Xiaobao said that if they were to plant rice in the future, the yield would be very high. They can't grow such good rice themselves, so it's a waste. Li Longji rambled on like an ordinary person talking about trivial matters. Zuzan and Princess Jincheng were so engrossed in listening that they forgot that they were talking to the emperor of the Tang Empire. They listened to Li Longji talk about the fall of a large number of officials on Hong Nong's side. He said that they needed more labor this year to build 30,000 li of railway. He said that the amount of iron on the railway seemed to be insufficient. He also said that the development of the steam engine had already progressed to the 4th generation. He wanted to sell the 1st generation to Japan and Silla. He told them that the Tang Empire now had something called a diesel engine that would be very powerful in the future. He mentioned the rare things he saw when he went to Jili province to play before the new year, as well as the beauty of the Tianqi Lake. He also bluntly said that he wanted to occupy more territory, but he didn't have much malice towards the people of other places. He just wanted some resources to speed up the development of the industry and make planes. In the future, when he wanted to go out to play, he could quickly fly to the place and see the magnificence of the world. We don't expect the world to be harmonious, because everyone is different. We want to travel to other places where the commoners will welcome us. Everyone is our guard. As Li Longji spoke, he habitually changed the way he addressed himself and reverted back to being the emperor. Zhu Zan and Princess Jincheng also woke up from the dream described by Li Longji. After secretly comparing, Zhu Zan realized that he was far inferior to Li Longji. Right now, even if he could restore his country in Tubo, he wouldn't agree. Otherwise, without the Tang Empire, his own people would overthrow him. How could he, who couldn't even eat, compete with others? Unless he could control all the methods of spreading news and not let the commoners know how the people outside lived, then he would be so backward that he wouldn't even be able to defend himself. What was the point of being the emperor like that? Princess Jincheng's consideration was more practical. She asked, "Imperial brother, when the time comes, can you give us dozens or even hundreds of diesel engines? We will use them to farm." "Not for now. Our Tang Empire doesn't have many of them. We need to use them for the military first. When there are a few newer generations, I will give them to you. If the technology is leaked, Xiaobao and Cuckoo will eat people." Li Longji didn't make any guarantees this time. Princess Jincheng was slightly regretful. She asked Wang Wan, "Cuckoo, did the Ministry of Works spend a lot of money? We can also help to produce more food, and then send them over to support the Ministry of Works." Wang Wan nodded. "Right now, the things that Tubo sends are just a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. Our family, the imperial court, and His Majesty's own money are all spent on the Ministry of Works every month. Sister, how much money do you need? Since your side is developing well, we can rest assured. We need to raise more cows and sheep. Many children in the Tang Empire can't drink milk, and can only drink soy milk or porridge in the morning. It doesn't mean that children who drink milk will be better than those who don't, but when they drink milk, there will be more food and drink. Children are the future. The attitude of those in power is very important." Princess Jincheng was shocked. The Ministry of Works actually spent so much money. She followed Wang Wan's words and said, "Actually, drinking milk is better than drinking porridge. It isn't obvious for older children. For newborns, their mothers don't have enough milk. Drinking cow's milk is better than drinking porridge. Sister, it's not easy to send diesel engines, but we must send more pressure cookers. Without pressure cookers, the rice can't be steamed. Now there are some people in the Tang Empire who like to eat steamed rice and steamed buns. After it's done, we just need to put some butter on it, put some meat on it and sprinkle some salt on it. It tastes good." Wang Wan's stomach suddenly felt uncomfortable. What kind of eating is this? I'm guarding Xiaobao. Why do I need to eat such things? Sister, I will ask the Ministry of Works to make more pressure cookers. Remember to plant more vegetables. If you only eat meat and rice, the nutrition won't be balanced. Even if you can't change the habit in a short time, you have to slowly get used to it. Also, when you eat raw beef and mutton, you must pay attention to hygiene. When you go back, I will ask the medical school to bring you all kinds of medicine. When the time comes according to the symptoms, forget it, just send a doctor. The agriculture temple will also send people to see which medicine can be planted there. They will also bring the seeds to see what is suitable for growing. Princess Jincheng listened carefully and tried to remember. These were all useful words that directly affected the people's livelihood. They couldn't be neglected. Zizanchida was also listening. He felt that he had made the right choice to come here. He had to see for himself what Tang Empire was like now. Actually, he had already seen it on the road. The people here all had a special kind of glow on their faces. When the road was difficult to walk on, he could always see people organizing to fix it, but they never complained about the horses and people trampling on the road. Occasionally, when they passed by a village, there would be local children coming out to see the commotion. He had never seen a child wearing patched clothes. All of them had their hair combed neatly. This was the power of the Chaoyang operation. Because the children wore the same clothes. He wanted to see how different the capital was from what he had seen on the road. The group continued to move forward. Before long, they arrived at the area where the capital was being expanded. This was the west of the city. The torches and light bulbs complemented each other. What you see now is the expansion of the city. Li Longji continued to speak to Zizinchida, the west of the city. Initially, the plan was to expand the west of the city. However, Xiaobao and Cuckoo said that we should expand the city in all 4 directions. I thought about it and didn't lack money. Let's expand. However, the amount of work required was too large. Until now, we still haven't finished expanding. Your Majesty, they have been working for a day? They are really working hard. Zizinchida watched as the group narrowed. He then saw many animals helping to transport the goods. Working hard? When I came here, I had just changed jobs. Now, I am working on the drainage system. We don't need to fix the city walls. The houses have to be built neatly and the roads are wide. If we plant trees, we won't be able to differentiate between the city and the outskirts. Li Longji continued to explain. What about the city walls? Zizinchida asked again. Demolished. Why does the capital need city walls? The palace walls are enough. I also plan to open a few of the palaces that are usually empty. I will charge people money. If people want to see the places where the emperor stayed, they will have to buy tickets to enter. Xiaobao came up with a bad idea. He said that the money earned from selling tickets would be enough to repair the other palaces. I thought about it. I am poor, so I can only do as he said. If the money earned is not enough, I will ask Xiaobao to pay for it. He is the one who gave me the idea. In the beginning, there were some officials who were not willing. They said that it was not appropriate. What etiquette? Song Li was the one who knew etiquette. The places where the emperor stayed, can't others go there? I will give up the palace. I don't care if you have the money to stay for a night. I will just give up Xingqing Palace and let others live there. Does that make him the emperor? Am I not the emperor? The emperor is in the hearts of the people, not in the palaces. Li Longji said as if he was showing off, causing Zuzan to be dumbfounded. You don't believe me, right? Come with me. Li Longji said and turned his horse to the side. When he was close to the construction site, he stopped and said loudly, This emperor is passing by, so I want to see you. Everyone has worked hard. Zizinchida first saw the people who were working stopped and turned their heads to look at him. Then he heard a deafening sound. It was a mess. For a moment, he couldn't tell what everyone was shouting. Gradually, the people who were working also found this problem. Some people began to take the lead and shouted together. Finally, it became a shout of "Long live the Emperor." Immediately, the other construction sites that couldn't be seen from other places also had the same noise. It was really a wave after wave, mighty and endless. Li Longji simply stood on the back of the horse and fanned out in front of him. He waved his arms with all his strength. Zhang Xiaobao was very worried. He urged his horse to come over. My dear Emperor, please calm down. People are still working. He was not worried about Li Longji's safety. When he came, he had already sent people to guard the construction site. He was afraid that the workers would be too excited and work hard. Lively, lively, haha. Li Longji sat back on the horse and said with a smile. He then shouted to the people in front of him. This emperor is going back. Everyone continue to work. Dinner tonight. This emperor will treat you. Thus, the construction site changed the slogan again. After it was unified, it was respectfully send off your majesty. Zizinchida was deeply moved. Previously, when he listened and watched, he finally understood what the emperor is in the hearts of the people meant. Li Longji was really too comfortable as the emperor. There was no need to repair the city walls. Furthermore, he could use the palace to make money. Thinking of this, Zizinchida looked at Zhang Xiaobao, who was holding his son. Renting the palace would not only make money to repair the other buildings in the palace, but also make the people more aware of Li Longji's position. It would also make the palace more lively. The palace maids and eunuchs would be able to interact with the outside world more often and not be too isolated. One plan used many ways. Your Majesty, Xiaobao is indeed capable. There are many benefits to coming up with a plan. Indeed, a plan comes with a chain reaction. Your subject has a rough idea, Zizenqida said to Li Longji. He was very envious. Why weren't Xiaobao and Cuckoo born in Tubo? After Li Longji finished listening to Zhu Zan's list of benefits, he shook his head with a smile. What you said is too simple. If Xiaobao came up with such a plan, he wouldn't be Xiaobao. What you can think of, I can too. Xiaobao's idea is to give people with bad intentions a chance to come in contact with us. It will be easier for us to catch them. It will also give people a chance to give suggestions. Those who come to live in Great Tang can write down what they think should be improved and put it in the palace they stayed in before. There are many people who have their own needs in life. They might understand the situation better. Someone will organize it and bring it to the imperial court to discuss. Also, I will be going to other places often in the future. When I go to a place, I will naturally need to have a place. If I leave, the place will be idle and a waste of money. If I start now, I will be able to rent it out in the future. There are other benefits too. When you are well rested tomorrow, I will tell you more slowly. Zizenqida nodded his head. He admitted that he had thought too little. Zhang Xiaobao was indeed Zhang Xiaobao. Just as Li Longji was showing off and Zizenqida was sighing, a horse came in front of them. The rider on the horse bared his teeth and said, Your Majesty, Subject Zhao Hanzhong represents the generals in the imperial court to invite military commander Wang to participate in the military selection tomorrow. Chapter 992. As he spoke, Zhao Hanzhong appeared to be confident. His eyes moved back and forth between Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not say anything. They only looked at Zhao Hanzhong with a smile on their faces. Princess Jincheng felt that the atmosphere was a bit stifling. She asked, Cuckoo, they are about to start the military election. Why don't you agree immediately? Zhu Zan explained, Because it's past midnight, it's tomorrow. Xiaobao and Cuckoo must have worked hard to welcome us. They haven't rested yet. In a while, they will arrange a place for us to rest. They are going to compete tomorrow. They are looking for the right opportunity. Ah! Princess Jincheng opened her mouth in surprise. When she looked at Zhao Hanzhong, her eyes were unkind. This is too evil. How can you take advantage of others? Zhao Hanzhong was stared at by everyone. He lowered his head and whispered, Why don't we wait a little longer? When we came, the generals said that military matters are extremely urgent. If we don't move, we will lose the initiative. I will go back and tell them that we will compete tomorrow afternoon. How can you be like this? We came from afar, and were welcomed outside the capital. You find an opportunity to scheme against us. What do you want us to do? Do you want us to constantly blame ourselves for implicating Xiaobao and Cuckoo? Princess Jincheng angrily questioned. Yitang Puzan, who was being hugged by Zhang Xiaobao, did not know what was going on. But since his mother was angry, he was also angry. He stared at Zhao Hanzhong. No, I don't mean that. Zhao Hanzhong shook his head vigorously. He continued to discuss. Wait for 2 days. 2 days. What do you think, Military Governor Wang? Not bad. Before the battle, you plan against the enemy. Good strategy. Wang Wan smiled and praised. Zhao Hanzhong felt that this sentence was very harsh. Wang Wan continued. There's no need to wait. Once we enter the city, we will immediately start the military election. The military matters are extremely urgent. Huh. It was Zhao Hanzhong's turn to be dumbfounded. When they came out, the generals had just rested for less than an hour in order to study this plan. It was estimated that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had to accompany Ancestor Qida. Even if they heard about the military selection and immediately went to rest, they would not be able to sleep well. However, he did not expect that Wang Wan would directly compete with him. If the generals slept for 2 hours, it would be better if they did not sleep just now. Right now, they were sleeping comfortably. If they got up and put on their clothes, they probably would not even have time to wash up. The generals just fell asleep, Zhao Hanzhong said. In an extremely urgent situation, when faced with an emergency, one should not move. If the army is negligent, one will lose the initiative. Princess Jincheng reacted and repeated Zhao Hanzhong's words with a smile. Zhao Hanzhong slapped his forehead and said, "Oh my god, this is so tough." As expected, those who plan to win should plan first. Our opponents are Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Why didn't I think of this? Haha. When Li Longji heard this, he suddenly laughed and said to Zhao Hanzhong, "Since that's the case, I ask that the generals not delay the military plans. This emperor will also go. Wasn't the location chosen at the hibiscus garden? In an hour, this emperor will wait there for the generals to arrive." Turning back, Li Longji asked Ancestor Chida, "Do you want to rest or go together? You don't have to go to the post house or the foreign affairs office to rest. Let Xiaobao send people to arrange for you to stay in the Joy residence. As for the others, except for the servants, the rest of you will be stationed in the barracks outside the city." Ancestor Chida glanced at Princess Jincheng and said, "I will go to the hibiscus garden. This servant will bring people to stay in the Joy residence first. When I am tired, I will come back." Princess Jincheng nodded. If it was just their family, they could all go to the hibiscus garden. However, there were many attendants, guards, and tubo specialties that would follow them. Someone had to stay and take care of them. Reaching out to take the child who was still reluctant to leave Zhang Xiaobao's arms, Princess Jincheng said, "Husband, you can go by yourself. I will arrange everything. I think that the people in Xiaobao and Cuckoo's families can do it well." Ancestor Chida touched his son's head and said with relief, "Of course. Who doesn't know that the inner courtyard of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family in Sanshui County of the Tang Dynasty is the most intimate? When your son is hungry, remember to ask someone to arrange food." The group of people just entered the city and went on with their own business. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sped up and rushed to the hibiscus garden. Li Longji, Ancestor Chida, and the others also followed. Zhang Xiaobao followed an order from the inner courtyard. The inner courtyard immediately rushed to the mansion at the fastest speed to go back to get things. The most anxious person was Zhao Hanzhong. It was impossible for all the generals to sleep together. They all returned to their own manors and families. He could only send out a large group of people to spread the news, telling the generals who were sleeping to get up quickly, and those who were not asleep to come out directly. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan arrived at the hibiscus garden first, they took a hot bath and let the people in the inner courtyard massage them to relax. Some of the generals were cursing and swearing, some were walking on the road with ugly expressions, and some were being carried to the hibiscus garden by their family members in a daze. No one dared to delay. The emperor had said that it would be an hour, so it must be an hour. Otherwise, it would be delaying the military. When they arrived at the entrance of the hibiscus garden, they met many people. They accused and scolded each other, saying that the other person's idea was not good. They did not admit that they also participated in it. All the generals had arrived. Sure enough, in less than an hour, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's people also arrived. They ordered the people who went back to deliver a large stack of paper. With a single glance, one could tell that it was printed material. They were currently distributing it. Everyone on either side of the two was given a thick stack. There was even a sticky note on the top to make it easy to read. Li Longji asked for a stack and read it together with Zuzan and Gao Lisher. There were names written on the sticky notes. The first name was Zhang Shougui. Li Longji flipped open the topmost sheet, which was used to prevent abrasion, and revealed the contents. General, Zhang Shougui, rich in military experience and quick wit. He is adept at using opportunistic tactics to break the enemy. With him taking the lead and attacking first, his attacks are bound to be sharp. In order to achieve his goal, he can circle around the enemy's army and throw the enemy's formation into disarray with one strike. However, he has plenty of offense but not enough defense. He has plenty of courage but not enough stability. In the face of an unexpected situation, he has a poor grasp of the overall situation. He is good at joint attacks and surprise attacks. Savant's Pavilion gives out 500 strings of string of coins for free. He has been there many times to eat. He likes to eat mutton and drink strong wine. When the strong wine is served, he drinks it from a small cup. Thus, he has a strong personality and is attentive to details. Give him a voucher. When he buys our goods, find someone to bargain with him. Even though he knows the price, he continues to lower the price. When he is not willing to sell, he will turn around and leave. If he is not willing to sell, he will turn around and buy again at the lowest price we just agreed on. This shows that he is conceited and full of schemes. If you encounter him, you can use a small scheme to lure him into the trap. Then, you can beat him at his own game and find a loophole to break through. After breaking through, you can use a small scheme to trick him again. After that, you can surround him and force him to defend, leaving 3 loopholes for him to break out of the encirclement. Then you can delay the attack and disrupt the overall strategy of the generals. Li Longji and the other 2 read. Even before it finished, they all shivered. Why, Your Majesty, there's more at the end. Gao Lisher reminded Li Longji to turn the page. Li Longji was not in a hurry to turn the page. Instead, he looked at Zhu Zan. Zhu Zan happened to look at him at the same time. He swallowed twice and said, "At that time, Tubo did not complain at all. This should be written by Xiao Bao. I understand now. Cuckoo is in charge of the military formation, while Xiao Bao is in charge of the enemy general's likes and dislikes." That's right. I was puzzled at that time. Li Longji raised his head and looked at Zhang Shogui, who was yawning not far away. He shook his head and said, I was puzzled as to why Xiao Bao and Cuckoo became so generous and specially gave free vouchers and vouchers to the generals. So that's why. Truly there is no good wine and no good banquet. When Zhu Zan heard Li Longji's words, he thought of the pair of hawksbill turtles that he had received earlier. Those things were indeed valuable, but they were definitely not a good gift. In the future, he would have to take care of them carefully. He would probably have to find water that was similar to seawater and raise them until they were fully grown. When that time came, he would probably not be able to continue staying in Tubo. He would have to take the money and find another place to live a good life. If he really did not have enough money, he could sell one and it would be enough for several lifetimes. Looking at the report, Zhu Zan suddenly thought of something and said, if that's the case, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's intelligence network is extremely fast and detailed. They probably have people in all kinds of industries. When Li Longji heard this, he paused for a moment and said, that's right. Their intelligence network is even more powerful than the great Tang's. It's so powerful that they know what I eat, where I sleep, and what I say every day. The more it is like this, the more at ease I feel. If someone wants to scheme against me, they will know. Even if someone breaks into the palace, they will find the right place to rescue me. Who would dare to poison me? I probably don't know. They have already made a move. Isn't that right, Lisher? Gao Lisher quickly said, Your Majesty, you are more or less right. Sometimes, I will also leak information to them. For example, when the small countries in the southwest send tributes, I will first tell them what the tributes look like, and let them see if they can hurt Your Majesty. Also, when the imperial kitchen cooks new dishes, such as the dishes learned from the savant's restaurant or Xiao Bao, I will carefully compare them. If the imperial kitchen cooks the dishes themselves, I will also tell Xiao Bao and let him see if long-term consumption is bad for the body. When Zhu Zan heard the conversation between the two of them, he knew that there was a misunderstanding. Perhaps they wanted him to sow discord. He was wronged. He did not mean that. At the same time, he inwardly sighed. It seemed that the other party's plan to sow discord was not going to work. The two of them had spoken too clearly. They did not guard against Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. This was especially so when it came to Gao Lisher. He dared to admit that he had leaked information, and he had even taken the initiative to do so. Li Longji acted as if this was a matter of course. This was not just pampering, but pampering. For a moment, Zhu Zan regretted what he had just said. Perhaps Xiao Bao and Cuckoo would soon hear about it. What would the two of them think? Zhu Zan opened his mouth to explain, but he helplessly gave up. The more he tried to explain, the worse the situation would become. He could only hope that Xiao Bao and Wang Chong would be magnanimous and not make a fuss. Li Longji did not continue to say anything. He raised his hand and casually flipped to a page. The label on this page said Jia Shun. The page he turned to was the third page written about Jia Shun. It said, Jia Shun good at defense. His defense is almost impregnable. If you encounter him, you should take a detour and make him lose his strategic position. If he leads an army to attack, you should meet him head-on. Force him to defend and set his position. Cooperate with others to isolate his army. He likes to drink wine, but he does not like to drink light dishes or a small plate of nuts. He can also drink 2 caddies of wine himself. His appetite is heavy. He is willing to eat salty food. He likes to eat noodles as his staple food. He always has to use his chopsticks to circle the noodles twice before slowly putting them into his mouth. This shows that he has a lot of thoughts and does not like to move forward. On the way to Jili Prefecture, the generals carried out a sand table simulation. In autumn, Jia Shishun led 1,500 men to guard an important mountain peak. He arrived first and ordered his men to cut down trees and pile them on the mountain. He also dug a hole and filled it with water. At that time the enemy was a young general, Wang Zhongxi, less than 20 years old, leading 10,000 men. They surrounded him and attacked first. Jia Shishun looked down from above and threw stones. After a long time the attack failed. He attacked with fire. However, Jia Shishun had ordered his men to cut down trees. The fire was not strong enough to reach the top. Jia Shishun then ordered his men to take off their clothes and wet their faces. He also ordered his men to light the smoke and take advantage of the wind to smoke the enemy's encirclement. The troops at the bottom of the wind were in chaos. He ordered his men to beat the drums to make a strong attack. The enemy at the bottom of the wind was alert with the smoke, but he ordered his men to cover their faces with wet cloth and quietly went down the mountain to attack the enemy's smoke. The enemy slacked. He killed countless and returned to the top of the mountain. 10 days later, the young general Wang Zhongxi led his troops to retreat. He lost 3,000 men and delayed the opportunity. Therefore, when he encountered Jia Shishun, he defended and did not attack. He attacked and forced him to defend. Finished reading, Li Longji and the other 2 looked at each other in dismay. Your Majesty, when you went to Jili province to play, did you take the sand table with you? Zhu Zizhen asked. He knew that Li Longji went to Jili province because he heard Li Longji's story. But he did not know that Li Longji took the sand table with him. Not only did I take it with me, the entire 3rd floor of the ship was used to calculate the sand table. At that time we agreed that there would be a military expedition on the way. The generals could not wait any longer. Who would have thought that as soon as we boarded the ship, Xiaobao and Cuckoo kept talking to me about national policy and all kinds of strategies. I was confused listening to them. Later on, when I finally understood, the ship had arrived at the destination, so there was no need to compare. Tell me, how could I not listen? Is national policy more important? Or is the military expedition more important? When it came from Xiaobao's mouth, how could I not be 120% alert? Also, when it came from the 2 of them, not only did I have to listen, I also had to ponder. If the generals wanted to carry out the military selection, who would dare to come and interrupt the 2's plan, one after another? They were often busy until dawn. They were working so hard, yet they still forced them to carry out a military expedition that was not considered too important. What was the meaning of this? Do you want to harm the country and the people? Li Longji roughly told Zhu Zizhen about what happened on the ship. He imitated Zhang Xiaobao and spread out his hands. That's why we can't compare. Then, the generals should familiarize themselves with it first. Who knew that the attack and defense records of their sand table were also taken by Xiaobao to study? Do you know how happy I was at that time? The 2 of them supported me to go on a trip. They would rather pay for me to see the scenery over there. At the same time, they also asked me to help them get the Xinlua people to join the Tang Empire and form a county. At that time, I was already very impressed. Xiaobao was indeed different. A plan within a plan, a chain of plans. I went out for a stroll, and there were so many benefits. It was not a wasted trip. I did many things and learned many things. But you only realized today that his plan had not been revealed, right? Zhu Zizhen asked Li Longji with a sympathetic look. Yes, no wonder when they came back, they had a military and civilian reunion. It was to delay. After so many days, I reckoned that Xiaobao had already studied all the generals. A bunch of fools. They still want to scheme against Xiaobao and Cuckoo. Let's see what will happen when the two armies are set up tonight. Today, I have seen it for myself. Attacking from the outside is not based on the soldiers. Victory in a war is not only about the military, but also other auxiliary and calculations. Li Longji shook the paper in his hand that had information written on it. His gaze swept across the generals who had yet to recover. Zhu Zizhen nodded emotionally. Yes, sometimes people will die if they don't fight at close quarters. Cuckoo is a sharp knife. When she really moves, it will definitely dye the mountains and rivers red. Xiao Bao is a poison that kills without a trace. When he has the help of the knife, he can do many things secretly. In the end, people realized that not many people actually died under the knife that needed to be guarded against at all times. The poison is the most vicious. It is colorless and tasteless, and it kills the throat upon seeing blood. One plays an open scheme, and can meet force with force at any time. The other plays a conspiracy, and will constantly pester you. I really don't understand how the two of them can be together. Why the two of them? Why in my Tang Empire, right? My luck is good. Wait a while more. I really can't bear to let the people who just arrived carry out the military selection immediately. It's too much of a bully, even though they asked for it. Li Longji said happily. He was a virtuous emperor. Otherwise, how could he have Xiao Bao and Cuckoo help him? Who was the one who said that he wanted to suppress them? Who said a lot of bad things and hated that he couldn't kill the two families? Who were they? He would deal with them one by one later. While the three of them were feeling sad for the generals, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finished their massage. They were in high spirits, smiling modestly and peacefully, and came to the resting place of the generals. The generals were continuously drinking tea to refresh themselves. Xiaobao, Cuckoo over here. Li Longji called out. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan walked over and looked at Li Longji, waiting for him to speak. Show mercy. Li Longji waved the paper in his hand and said. Wang Wan glanced at it and replied. Xiao Bao and I will definitely do our best to make them lose. Even if they win by a fluke, we will let them know what it means to lose 800 of your own men to kill 1,000 of your enemy. Don't think that you can slack off just because you have advanced weapons. There are many cases of the weak winning against the strong. Once we lose to a nation, they will have a certain attitude of contempt for us. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. He knew. Back then, he and Wang Wan had read a history book from more than 100 years ago. It said that because the United States had lost 2 wars in a row, one against North Korea, and the other against Vietnam, even though China's military strength was not that great at that time, its citizens were not afraid of the United States. They were not afraid of the United States like the Japanese, who had been dropped 2 atomic bombs on them. Thus he said, I'm the same as Cuckoo. We will do our best to win, and not give anyone face. If we let them win today, we will hurt them tomorrow. Oh, alright, then you guys will do your best. But this thing that you guys obtained seems to have violated the rules of the game. Li Longji waved the paper in his hand again. This is not a game. This is war. The rules of war are for victory. Without rules, those who can't bear to kill civilians almost got wiped out. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Zhu Zan as he spoke. Zhu Zan nodded silently. He knew what Zhang Xiaobao was talking about. When the Tang Empire's army came, they did not touch the village and were reported. But when Cuckoo's logistics team came, it was really bloody. But who could they blame? If they did not touch the embankment, would they be able to take revenge so ruthlessly? Li Longji also remembered. At that time, he just wanted to give some credit to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. He did not expect them to really fight. He just wanted them to join in the fun. After organizing the logistics team and taking out the money, he could persuade the other officials to promote them. But he did not expect that the logistics team could not only allow the Tang Empire's army to move smoothly in the Tang Empire's territory, but they also received his order. Under the situation where they knew the situation, they resolutely went out according to the order, and took the position of commander with the identity of the logistics team. They gathered the defeated soldiers and then went on a campaign to attack the Great Wall. Thinking of this, Li Longji stretched out his hands and rubbed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's heads. He said, beat them. Beat them hard. Incompetent generals will tire out thousands of soldiers. This is a military selection for you, but also a selection for them. I will not let them see this information." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and smiled. They nodded at the same time and turned around to invite the generals to start the military selection. When the generals saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan come over, they were speechless. These two were too bad. Lord Pei, aren't you in charge of the Ministry of Personnel? Are you here to watch the fun? Zhang Xiaobao saw Pei Guangting, the Minister of Personnel, and asked in surprise. Pei Guangting's eyes were red. He was sleepy and said listlessly, "I used to be a doctor in the Ministry of Military Personnel. I'm old now, so I have to do my part." "You're not old. You're in the prime of your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in the same position as the Secretary of the Secretariat. That it's about to start. Shouldn't everyone be in their positions?" Zhang Xiaobao was still smiling. He had long since known that Pei Guangting was one of them. This time, the other side was full of awesome people. They had sent out their strongest lineup. And they had also gathered all the intelligence. It was just that the other side had schemed in the middle of the night and deliberately provoked them. Wang Wan was also observing. There were quite a few people. Zhao Hanzhong, Zhang Shougui, Jia Shishun, Yang Xixuan, Xiao Song Du Xian Gai Jiayun, Cui Shi, Wang Zhongxi Yuanrong, and so on. They really thought highly of her. From the looks of it, even the battalion commanders of a battalion had titles. Zhang Xiaobao followed Wang Wan's gaze and looked at Yuanrong. Before he could ask, Yuanrong said, "I'm just organizing the logistics. I don't know how to fight a war. I don't know how to arrange rations or keep accounts." "Oh, this can be considered a national mobilization. Lord Li Linfu didn't come?" Zhang Xiaobao couldn't help but admire the other party. To be able to put down his pride and ask the administrator to organize the logistics, Li Linfu's organizational skills weren't bad. There shouldn't be a lack of people who were also good at keeping accounts. "Lord Zhang, I'm here." As expected, a voice came from behind. Li Linfu stood up and waved his hand. Zhang Xiaobao also waved his hand. "I really was afraid that someone would be missing. In any case, there aren't many things to do in the Great Tang right now, and communication is convenient. Since we have nothing to do, let's play together and have some fun. Logically speaking, we can begin now. However, I would like to introduce an important existence to everyone. He is Shuiyin. In the sand table, you must acknowledge his existence. Shuiyin, come down and let your colleagues take a look." Zhang Xiaobao shouted to the sky, and the sky responded with an eagle cry. Then Shuiyin's figure appeared. He circled twice and found a branch with better branches. Once again he flew high into the sky and swooped down. He grabbed the trunk with his claws and broke it with a crack. This was not the end of it. The water cloud adjusted its two claws, then took the trunk into the air and swooped down again. It directly pressed the broken part of the trunk into the middle of a small ditch nearby, where the ice and the ground were in contact. Shuiyin flew up and slowly landed on the branch he pressed on the ground. It was very suitable. Everyone was already used to this. Shuiyin was just making a place for himself to stand. Even if he chatted with someone one day and asked if they had eaten in the morning, it was very normal. There were many birds that could talk. However, everyone still looked at Zhang Xiaobao with jealousy. That was because Shuiyin had a wife, Hong Wan, who was almost as smart as him. She could give birth to litters of children. All of them belonged to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. General Shui is coming down. What I want to say is that he will fight with us. In the sand table, we must take him into consideration. How smart he is will be the extent to which the generals on the sand table will acknowledge him. Is that okay? Zhang Xiaobao explained what he meant. No, Shuiyin is too smart. It's not fair. Zhao Hanzhong, who was still sore all over, objected. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Li Longji and asked him to speak up for him. Li Longji thought for a moment and said, "How is it fair? You use guns and radios, while Cuckoo uses cold weapons. This is unfair in itself. Can you say that there won't be an existence like Shuiyin in the places you fight in the future?" Zuzazan chimed in. "That's right. Firecrackers can be bought at will in the Great Tang. Can you guarantee that when people from other countries come and buy a large number of firecrackers, they won't make simple guns for war?" Can't other countries buy a lot of firecrackers and use them as explosives? Zhao Hanzhong didn't say anything. Indeed, who said that firecrackers couldn't kill people? He looked at the others, hoping to get some help. The others lowered their heads and pondered. Then Zhang Shogui stepped forward and said, "Okay, we acknowledge Shuiyin. But you and Cuckoo can't receive the signal after stealing our radios and deploy according to the message inside. You have to acknowledge this. We use a separate encryption system. If others get it on the battlefield, they can't translate it. Also, when you get guns and cannons, you can't use them proficiently because you haven't practiced. Although we know that you are more proficient in this, you are not playing the role of people from the Great Tang, right?" "That's right. Even if we get the radios on the battlefield, there won't be people outside to relay information to us when we fight on the sand table. When we fight with the cannons, they will even explode. The captives will also be captured according to the previous rules. Neither side can get anything out of them, and they would rather die than submit. Are there any other changes? If not, let's begin." Zhang Xiaobao agreed with Zhang Shogui's view. He repeated the rules and asked the others. The generals looked at each other, but none of them proposed any new changes. The rules were more or less done, and if there was a need, a panel of referees would be in charge. The only regret was that they couldn't test it in actual combat, because what happened in actual combat was outside the rules. But there was nothing they could do about it. They couldn't really fight. Seeing that no one wanted to add anything, Li Longji said, "Since that's the case, we will begin the military election. We will also be a referee. If there is a major dispute over fairness, we will personally rule. Let's enter." Whether the generals were sleepy or uncomfortable, they all went to their respective positions. Zhang Xiaobao, Wang Wan, and the others did the same. The large group went to their own rooms. Each person had their own room. Only when their armies encountered each other could they gather together to discuss matters. In the middle of the countless small rooms was a large sand table. It was the sand table of the Jiangnan circuit, and many people in charge of relaying information to the various rooms were ready. Chapter 993. Several hundred generals found their positions. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also arranged for the commanders in their homes. 100,000 soldiers against 100,000 soldiers. This could be considered a major battle. Because Wang Wan was playing the role of the defensive commander of a backward region, her soldiers could be arranged first. The generals would attack from the east of Jiangnan, which was the east of Jiangnan. Wang Wan was not allowed to have large ships, only small sampans. However, the main battlefield was Wang Wan, and Zhang Xiaobao could be more flexible in the logistics. Wang Wan had 400,000 indigenous people, and the generals had 50,000 logistical soldiers to supplement them. With Li Longji's order, the battle began. Zhang Shogui was in charge of the Great Tang's vanguard, leading 20,000 soldiers, 50 cannon ships, 200 transport ships, and horses. At the start of the battle, Zhang Shogui picked up an order flag, waved it twice and whispered, "Order all cannon ships to line up. Move the ships, fire the cannons, and bombard the coast of Haiyan." The messenger glanced at the small sand table and map in front of Zhang Shogui, nodded, and went to the large sand table in the middle of the large room to repeat Zhang Shogui's order. At this time, many people had entered the large room to deliver the message. The referees were staring at the sand table, and the people in charge of recording were also moving their brushes like they were flying. The model ships representing the cannon ships moved across the surface of the sea on the large sand table. Several referees looked at the sand table and shook their heads, giving a result. Tang Vanguard cannon ships are firing blanket fire. Based on the maximum range of the cannons, 0 native casualties. Because there are no troops stationed along the coast, if the Tang Vanguard cannon ships continue to fire, 1,500 shells will be consumed in 15 minutes. Wang Wan also looked at her sand table and map and softly ordered, "All personnel have finished setting up the traps. All lines are to retreat. With Qiantang as the center, form a straight line from north to south. Retreat to Wuqing, Deqing County, Wukong, Yongxing and Fuyang County in a line. Prepare to retreat again, and give up on Lingyin Mountain. If the various vanguard units have already arrived at their designated positions, and no new orders have been received within 72 hours, it means that the command center has already moved, and orders them to freely adjust the troops according to the deployment before the general battle, or to retreat, or to hide, or to feign attack. The person in charge of delivering the message nodded and left. He went to the house where Huzi and the others were, and informed the people outside. The people standing outside expressed that they had heard the message, but did not go in to inform Huzi and the other generals. Because Wang Wan was a native, she didn't have a radio, so it would take some time for the news to be transmitted. If the referee had set a time limit of 4 days for the news to be transmitted, then the people outside would have to wait for 1 day before they could inform Huzi and the others. If the referee had set a time limit of 8 hours, then they would have to wait for 2 hours, which was a 4-to-1 ratio. 3 minutes later, the general in Zhang Shougui's other room sent a report. Vanguard Scout Team 1 reports that the artillery coverage has been completed. All suspicious bunkers in the coastal areas within Sea Salt's line of sight have been destroyed. No signs of a counterattack have been found. Gunship Command Camp reports that 1,150 rounds of ammunition have been expended. Firing has been halted and awaiting further orders. 1/7 of the total number of rounds have been expended. This was the report sent by the general in another room. Scout again, report again. Order the scout camp to increase the number of troops ashore and carefully search. Zhang Shougui realized that the situation was a little bad from the report sent by the first scout team. The first scout team did not say how many native corpses they had seen, which meant that they had not been able to find them, or that there was no one along the coast and all the bunkers were fake. At this moment, Zhang Xiaobao stood up from his room and began to stroll out, heading toward Wang Wan's room. As he passed by Zhang Shougui's door, he even smiled at him. When Zhang Shougui saw Zhang Xiaobao, he froze for a moment, but then he suddenly reacted and said to the messenger, "Objection! Zhang Xiaobao has snuck out on his own and violated the rules." The messenger immediately went to the panel of judges, and after receiving a reply, he returned and said to Zhang Shougui, "The panel of judges has expressed that it's fine. Zhang Xiaobao has not violated the rules." "How is that possible? He's already come out, but he hasn't violated the rules. I request that the panel of judges give a detailed explanation. Look, he's already entered Wang Wan's room. So how can the martial arts examination still proceed? What is he in charge of that he can just go over? In a moment, remember to close my door. It's easier for them to hear." Zhang Shougui unhappily pointed at Zhang Xiaobao, who had just entered Wang Wan's room and closed the door. The messenger ran back and forth. "The panel of judges has said that you have no right to know what Zhang Xiaobao is in charge of through the panel of judges. Furthermore, they have confirmed once again that he has not violated the rules. If you must know, then you can first request to withdraw from the martial arts examination. After they inform you, you can only sit in the judge's seat or leave the field." Zhang Shougui paused for a moment, then waved his hand. "Forget it. I can't withdraw yet. Order the cannons to follow the northern shore of Hangzhou Bay and travel close to the shore. Use the fastest speed possible to reach Yingguan County. Send a scout team to search the shore. If they encounter an enemy, report back. The special forces will go ashore and enter the forest. If they find traces of the enemy, use the radio to call for artillery support and inform the Central Army. The road ahead is safe." Yang Xixuan was in charge of the Central Army of the Great Tang Fleet. He was in charge of 40,000 soldiers, 20 cannons, and 300 ships. It was not his turn to do anything yet. He sat on the chair and looked at the sand table on the ground. There were a few models of small boats in front of him, representing the vanguard. The messenger pushed the boats forward bit by bit. Every time they moved a little, they would leave. Then, when they received the report from the panel of judges, they would push a little more. After pushing a little more, when the messenger returned, 2 of the boats had stopped moving. Yang Xixuan was stunned. Why did the 2 groups of soldiers stop at the vanguard? This group was requested by Wang Wan. It was represented by the brigade and battalion of the military advisor. It was not that the current military system was not good enough, but that Wang Wan was more familiar with it. It was already good that she did not change the brigade into platoons. When she lectured, she also had the generals get used to the system. Yang Xixuan was only puzzled, but Zhang Shogui was about to go crazy from anger. Why are my two groups not moving? Can someone give me an explanation? Zhang Shogui was the messenger. The messenger knew what was going on, but he could not say. He could only helplessly shrug his hands. If Sir wishes to see the details, please withdraw first. Fleet personnel report that the propellers of the Vanguard's first, second, and third groups have been entangled by fishing nets. The panel of judges has determined that the first, second, and third groups are unable to move, and their steam engines have been damaged. Half of the first group's boats are unable to move, and their steam engines have also been damaged. Zhang Shogui's question was quickly answered by a messenger from another room in the group. How did they get entangled? The lookout just now said that the water was calm. Where did they hide their fishing nets? This is too much of a bully. Zhang Shogui could not figure out what the problem was. In the end, the messenger also said, if you wish to know the exact reason and observe from a third party's perspective, please withdraw first and find someone else to replace you. Can't you just say something else? Zhao Gang, withdraw first and ask what's going on. Have your little brother replace you. If the explanation is wrong, come find me. If the explanation is reasonable, you can stay with the panel of judges. Zhang Shogui shouted as loudly as he could into the room next door. Zhao Gang was the captain in charge of the lookout. When he heard Zhang Shogui's voice, he reluctantly put down the flag, stood up, and walked over to the large sand table in the center. When he got there, he said, I withdraw. I want to know how the boat was entangled by the fishing nets. In your judgment, there were no tools on the water that left a mark. The people of the panel of judges were very easy to talk to. Since Zhao Gang had withdrawn, they would tell him. He explained, Wang Wan had people place a fishing net in the water at the very beginning, using a levitation technique. It's basically a piece of wood with a rock hanging from it. Only after achieving levitation is it allowed to be placed in the water. The fishing net is hung in this manner. This technique is not difficult at all, and the panel of judges has approved it. Do you have any other opinions? Zhao Gang thought for a moment, then shook his head. No. Have my little brother replace me. I want to join the panel of judges. Give me a copy of the rules. Zhang Shogui did not receive Zhao Gang. What he received was news from the messenger. Lord Zhao has already joined the panel of judges. Zhang Shogui raised his head and sighed. He now understood that the boat had truly been entangled by the fishing net. As for how, he would have to find the reason himself. It didn't take long for the water ghosts to report. Discovered floating pieces of wood and falling rocks in the water, neither floating nor sinking, attached to the fishing net. The special forces on shore also reported. Discovered countless bunkers and dummies, but no living or dead people. Zhang Shogui nodded vigorously. Formidable. Before we even made contact, our great Tang has already lost several tens of thousands of strings of coins. But I don't understand. As he spoke, Zhang Shogui stood up and headed straight for the center of the sand table. When he arrived at a door facing this direction, he wrapped his clothes around his head and covered his ears with his hands. Unable to enter, he said, Stop for a moment. I have something to say. I didn't see or hear. Li Longji was eating appetizers and drinking wine while looking at the sand table. Seeing Zhang Shogui enter like this, he raised his hand to signal for a pause. Minister Zhang, someone come and take his hands off. Stop pretending. We don't believe that he can't hear us. Without needing help, Zhang Shogui put down his own hands and said indignantly, Your Majesty, this subject refuses to accept this. Wang Wan is our general's teacher, so she already understands us very well. And there's also Zhang Xiaobao, who specializes in scheming. If they fight with us, we will be at a disadvantage at every step. What this subject wants to ask is, if it really was the Great Tang's army, how many aboriginals would be able to come up with such a plan? But Your Majesty, look at the way they fought. They've been scheming from the start, and understand us very well. Is it possible for them to be true aboriginals? Li Longji earnestly listened. After thinking for a while, he asked, Then according to Minister Zhang's meaning, You admit defeat? Wang Wan directly became the martial champion? This subject does not mean that. What this subject means is that the referees should not have allowed them to be as smart as they are now, Zhang Shougue argued. His voice was so loud that others could hear him. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao walked out of the room and to the sand table in the center. Zhang Xiaobao spoke. General Zhang, yes, Cuckoo understands you, but you don't understand her? She's always giving you lessons, so you don't understand her style? I also didn't hide. I used schemes, and everyone seemed to understand that once my schemes were out, they would always be connected. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Could it be that you want to push the blame onto us and say that you don't understand us? You say that we schemed against you, but could it be that on a real battlefield, you would discover that the enemy general was scheming against you and you would stop fighting? And then because they were in the wrong, they would agree to a truce and withdraw their troops? This is not the case. On the battlefield, there is only life and death, nothing else. Everyone uses their own methods to determine victory and defeat. But are the aboriginals as smart as you? Wouldn't they be scared silly by the sound of cannons? Zhang Shougue first shook his head, then continued with his reason for opposing. Oh, scared silly by the sound of cannons? Fine, General Zhang, take a look and see what this is. Zhang Xiaobao took out his gun and pointed it at Zhang Shougue. A gun, Zhang Shougue replied. Very good. Then now, General Zhang, I want you to bring your mother, wife, or daughter over and take off their clothes so that we can all humiliate them. Otherwise I'll beat you to death, Zhang Xiaobao said. Brat, you dare? Zhang Shougue's eyebrows shot up and his eyes widened. He stepped forward and charged at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao, if you have the guts, beat me to death. Beat me. Stop. General Zhang, I'm apologizing. I'm just saying. Later, I'll kowtow to Auntie and apologize. I'll go with Cuckoo to apologize. Please don't be impulsive. Zhang Xiaobao hurriedly ran behind Li Longji. Minister Zhang, don't be impulsive. We will uphold justice for you. Someone seize Zhang Xiaobao, Li Longji urged. Gao Lishir was on the side. He pressed down on Zhang Xiaobao and snatched the gun from him. Only then did Zhang Shougue stop his charge and angrily glare at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao, I'll remember you. If you don't give me a satisfactory explanation, I'll buy a cart full of firecrackers and blow up your house. Zhang Xiaobao raised his hand and fearfully said, Okay, General Zhang, please don't be angry. Later, Cuckoo and I will kowtow to Auntie, okay? There is an explanation. It's like this, General Zhang. I was just saying, and you're already like this. You also know the power of a gun, so why didn't you back down? The natives also have their own parents, wives, and children. If you're not afraid of guns, should they be afraid of cannons? Living in humiliation or dying in battle to protect their loved ones. I believe that many men know what to choose. Even women can be forced onto the battlefield. Thus, your explanation is not valid. Zhang Xiaobao sincerely spoke this time. Zhang Shougue took a few deep breaths. In the future, you're not allowed to use my family as an excuse. There's no need for you to go to my mother's place. I admit that the natives also have men, but are they as smart as you? On the side, Wang Wan glared at Zhang Xiaobao. Of all the examples he could use, why did he have to mention his family? Following which, she said, General Zhang, Xiaobao and I have been wanting to pay a visit for a long time. Please don't refuse. You must go. Xiaobao's words just now offended you, so please be magnanimous. Later, we'll pay a visit and apologize. Now I'll answer your second question. Our Great Tang's technology is limited, but the gunships are there for all to see, and the steam engine ships are shuttling back and forth. Let's not talk about the natives of other places, just talk about Japan. Do you think they can't figure out how to stop the propeller ships? If a foreigner studies in the Great Tang long enough, he will know how the weapons of the Great Tang are, and will definitely think of a way to deal with them. No one is a fool, and there are also some extremely talented people. If a tribe sends 100 people to study in the Great Tang, when they return, how can they not compare and think about the Great Tang's economy and military? Yes, they might not understand the Great Tang as well as I and Xiaobao, but you won a battle, so how can the other tribes not think about it? You say that it's unfair that Xiaobao and I know a lot, but it's unfair to use guns against cold weapons. You can't always treat others as fools. In fact, no matter how backward a place is, as long as they fight to the death, you can't win unless you kill everyone. Zhang Xiaobao took back his gun and continued. Actually, not all the men in all places are like men. In some places, you don't even need to fight. You just need to spend money, and women will take off their clothes and perform for you. This is actually more tragic than being conquered by force. General Zhang, think about it this way. You are not fighting against the natives, but against a smart people. You just have advanced weapons, but these people are not afraid of death and are eager to learn. Moreover, they have sent many people to study in the Great Tang. You also have to understand that the person participating in the military selection is Cuckoo. You have the advantage of weapons, and are making it difficult for her to move. We are competing with cold weapons and hot weapons, but we are using the natives as an excuse. Don't you even have this little bit of confidence? Do you have to turn Cuckoo into a fool before you think you have a chance of winning? Then what if Cuckoo also uses hot weapons to participate in the military selection? Do you still dare to compete? Zhang Shogui lowered his head in embarrassment. Truly, Wang Wan's military selection was already not balanced. No one knew if the natives would be so formidable that they would not compromise even if their entire tribe was wiped out, or so weak that they would take off their clothes for a little money. But since he had chosen his opponent, he had to choose the strongest. Thus he said, Your Majesty, this subject knows his wrongs. Correct. Minister Zhang is a man. Since you are willing to risk your life to protect your family, in the future, when needed, you will definitely be able to protect the country. Li Longji didn't care at all about Zhang Shogui's lack of etiquette. If he really wanted to investigate, he would first investigate Zhang Xiaobao. Who wouldn't be angry after hearing those words? Unless he wasn't a man. If things went wrong, he would have to write a decree to console Zhang Shogui's mother. As for Xiaobao, he would have to suffer even more. He would have to pay his respects. Upon hearing Li Longji's words, Zhang Shogui felt much better. He glanced at Zhang Xiaobao, wanting to persuade him not to come and apologize, but Zhang Xiaobao immediately understood. General Zhang, don't say any more. I have to go. Even if it's for my reputation, I have to go. Otherwise, what will the world think of me? If the two of us switch places, you would already be on the ground. Not even a doctor from the Academy of Dei could save you. Once the military selection is over, Cuckoo and I will pay you a visit. Don't reject us at the door. Cuckoo, what gift do you think we should prepare? An apology is an apology, but a gift can't be lacking. There's no need. Zhang Shogui actually felt a little embarrassed. This husband and wife pair had been talking about kowtowing and apologizing for nothing more than the fact that it involved his family. It wasn't like they were actually trying to humiliate him. Their usual etiquette was already more than enough. Wang Wan ignored Zhang Shogui's words. Following Zhang Xiaobao's words, she said, I heard that Auntie likes to eat Huainan sweet oranges. This is a must. It's said that Auntie worked hard in her youth and coughed for a long time. Tubo's golden fungus is also a must. Also, Auntie always has people buy sandalwood to calm the heart. Gifting her a set of sandalwood furniture is also a must. Auntie is also afraid of the cold. When the soldiers of Jilin province went overseas to find seeds, they hunted down a white bear pelt and placed it in Auntie's room. Auntie is also willing to watch the show. How about we bring our acrobatics and crosstalk troupe over to accompany Auntie in her happiness? Also, Wang Wan spoke one thing after another, leaving Zhang Shogui dumbfounded. He realized that some of the things Wang Wan spoke of were things he already knew, but there were still some that he didn't know. For an outsider to know his mother's habits better than him and speak of them as if they were family treasures. Wasn't this a little too frightening? Thinking of this, Zhang Shogui couldn't find the words to refuse. She was gifting something to his mother. He felt like Wang Wan was his mother's real daughter. She truly understood everything. Moved, Zhang Shogui couldn't help but sigh. Let's just continue with the military selection. I think we're done for. Chapter 994. Returning to his room, Zhang Shogui stared at the two model boats on the sand table for a while before giving the order. Give the order. The 5,000 men of the 3 regiments of the 1st Vanguard Brigade are to be sent ashore in small boats. Equip them with horses and send them along the coastal land route, moving side by side with the fleet. The 2nd Vanguard Brigade is to send small boats forward quickly, throw hooks and pull out all the fishing nets in the water, send the hot air balloons into the air, and fly as fast as possible toward Shicheng on the southern shore of Hangzhou Bay. Enter Qiantang along the coast and monitor the situation in the surrounding 100 square kilometers. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao also returned to the room. As for why Zhang Xiaobao was able to stay with Wang Wan, it was because Zhang Xiaobao had arranged the logistics in advance. He had put the command center together with Wang Wan's command center. In any case, the speed of information transmission was already very slow. Even if he split up, he wouldn't be of much use. It was better to stay in the same room with Wang Wan and discuss things on the spot. Weather, Wang Wan asked the messenger. Light rain, the messenger replied. This was the result of the dice in the center of the sand table. The season was autumn, and it had just entered autumn. The weather conditions were changed every day. Other than volcanic eruptions and hurricanes blowing up the mountains, all sorts of weather conditions could occur. After a period of time, heavy snow was even allowed. Although it was said that the Jiangnan circuit rarely experienced snow, and even if it did, it was not a heavy snowfall. However, previous records showed that the Jiangnan circuit had indeed experienced heavy snowfalls. Of course, it was impossible for the entire Jiangnan circuit to be completely sunny on the first day and completely covered in snow on the second. That was absolutely impossible. Clouds had not yet flown in or formed. Hearing the messenger's answer, Wang Wan nodded and said, "It's good that it's raining. In this season, when the Jiangnan society plays dice, will there be more options for rain in the corresponding grid when counting points?" Of course. That is the actual situation. The Jiangnan circuit is most prone to rain in spring and autumn. I am in charge of logistics and have already made the corresponding preparations. Don't worry, there won't be any problems. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he pointed at Huanchuan County in Muzhou, Jiangnan East Road. I've arranged something here. I don't know if it can be used. Let's wait for more rain. Wang Wan glanced around and did not ask Zhang Xiaobao for the details of the layout. Otherwise, it would be easy to be influenced, and the layout would revolve around that place. He ordered the messenger. My order: the main force in Hangzhou is to retreat. Call Commander Wang Yi of the Sniper Battalion of the 2 ND Division's 1st Brigade over. The smallest military unit in this sand table could be implemented as a platoon. If there was a need, such as arranging for a very powerful person to carry out a special assassination tactic, then he could even let him appear as a platoon leader. In reality, they couldn't have too many detailed commanders. Otherwise, the main force of both sides would be 200,000. They couldn't arrange for one commander for each group of 10. That would require 20,000 people to carry out this military expedition. The current scale was not small. In total, there were more than 3,000 people. This was the largest sand table military exercise since ancient times to the Tang Empire. Battalion Commander Wang Yi had his own position. He ran over from the small house. Because his position in the military exercise was in the middle army and he was with Wang Wan, he was allowed to enter Wang Wan's house. But according to his position on the sand table, it would take him an hour to come over. According to the ratio of 1/4, he would have to wait for 15 minutes before he was allowed to see Wang Wan. After 15 minutes, the messenger guarding the door allowed him to enter. Commander Wang Yi of the Sniper Battalion of the 1st Brigade of the 2nd Division reporting. As soon as Wang Yi entered the door, he stood up straight and reported to Wang Wan. Commander Wang, our middle army will retreat immediately. Your battalion will be responsible for delaying the enemy's advance. This is the detailed plan of deployment. You can act freely to delay the enemy at any cost. Wang Wan picked up a written battle plan and saluted to Wang Yi. Then she handed the plan to him with both hands. Wang Yi took the plan solemnly and saluted back. He said solemnly, I promise to complete the mission at any cost. The Sniper Battalion will be reserved for reinforcements. We will pass on the military spirit. Wang Wan said. Zhang Xiaobao also stood up and saluted. Wang Yi turned around and strode out. The messenger knew that this was just a battle on the sand table, but he still respectfully sent Wang Yi out. Because he knew that even if it was a real battlefield, Wang Wan would still make the same decision. And Wang Yi's sniper battalion would fight to the last person to delay the enemy's advance. Leave the sniper battalion. The middle army will retreat at full speed. Wang Wan gave another order. When the people beside the sand table in the middle received this order, they immediately started to move the small model of the middle army represented by Wang Wan to the back. Wei Wei moved a little, then stopped and moved a little more. At the same time, they took out many smaller models to represent the sniper battalion that had left the group. The small flags had the word Wang written on them. In the middle army, Yang Xixuan was also giving orders. Order the whole army to press forward. Before we reach Hangzhou Bay, send out a brigade of 5,000 people to Wanghai town. After the messenger gave the order, he smiled and said to the other generals in the middle of the room, I think Wang Wan will deploy a lot of troops in Wanghai town. We'll use the lives of 5,000 people to hold back their ambusher while the vanguard goes around them. Let's see how they can escape then. The other generals laughed. One of them said, General, you are indeed amazing. No matter how good Wang Wan is at scheming, even if there are 30,000 people here, we may not lose with 5,000 people. In terms of the rules of the game, we have an absolute advantage with our weapons. Li Longji and the others, who were beside the sand table in the middle, heard the different conversations in the two rooms. They sighed and said, Cuckoo won. Chida agreed. I think so too. Cuckoo and Xiaobao didn't treat this sand table simulation as a game. Their generals also treat themselves as real members of the battlefield. The generals we are facing are still laughing and treating human lives as numbers. They don't care if 5,000 people will be ambushed by the middle army. Wang Yi's battalion only has 700 people. Cuckoo promised to leave a number. I believe that in a real battlefield, the sniper battalion will fight to the last person. The referees immediately gave Wang Yi's sniper battalion bonus points in the evaluation of morale. In other words, if they had the same number of people, the sniper battalion would win in hand-to-hand combat. The generals didn't know that Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao were playing with them seriously, so the people below them were also very relaxed. They looked at the sand table and map in front of them, and felt that it was very interesting. I believe that when they are moving forward, they will be vigilant of every mountain, and will send a large number of special forces to scout ahead. So I want to leave people behind to harass every mountain that they may pass through, so that they can't judge the situation clearly. This is the tragedy of backward technology. We can only use the lives of countless heroes to make up for it. Everything is for victory. Everything is for the sake of not losing the country. After giving the order, Wang Wan had nothing else to do for the time being. She took a magnifying glass and looked at the terrain on the map while talking to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao was also observing the terrain with a magnifying glass. He said, we can choose Jiangnan province. If we choose the northern part of Hebei province, we can fortify the defense and clear the wilderness all the way. We can drag it out from autumn to winter, and their expedition will be over. Now there are trees and rivers. Even if we can't transport food, we can hunt and dig wild vegetables. The horses can also eat grass. Then we have to cut off their logistics. The rule is that they will arrive here in a month by sea. Every time we cut off their logistics, they will have to live without logistics for at least a month. The wild animals are not enough for 100,000 people to eat. If they eat wild vegetables, their physical strength will be greatly reduced. Wang Wan walked along the map. When she stopped, she had already put the magnifying glass at the location of Dongting Lake. She said, when they arrive here, our army is 20,000 less than theirs. It will be their win. Or they can beat our army to 3,000 people. I want to see how far they can go without supplies. You keep an eye on the logistics. Don't let them steal the food. Don't worry. They can't get it. Even if they get it, they won't dare to eat it. Zhang Xiaobao said confidently. When the chief commander seemed to be a little idle, the people in the various battalions seemed to be busy. They were the lowest commanders and needed to make decisions at every step. Orders were sent out and small models moved on the sand table. Although the two sides had not made any actual contact, they were very careful, especially Wang Wan's people. They used cold weapons because they were afraid of being discovered by the enemy at a long distance. Then they would be attacked by guns and cannons. So the sand table showed that one side was advancing slowly while the other side was retreating cautiously. One side suspected that there might be an ambush at every place but did not appear. The other side wanted to set traps everywhere, but gave up hesitantly. "We can't fight today. Let's sleep for a while." Zhang Xiaobao could guess the current situation, without looking at the sand table. Wang Wan did not intend to fight for the beach when the enemy had just come ashore or not. The enemy had many places where they could come ashore, and also had artillery support. Sniping at the beach would not be a big threat to the enemy, and would instead cause more losses to their own side. In this way, they could not fight at all today. With 4-to-1 time, waiting for a day would only count as 4 days. So he looked at the map again, and found that there were no other dangers. He nodded and said, "Then let's sleep. Sleep here. Get someone to quietly bring in some blankets." When the sun was about to rise, Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao lay down and fell asleep, telling others that they would not be eating breakfast. Li Longji yawned and stretched. "I am also sleepy. Let's go back to the palace. Ancestor Qida, you go back to your room. Li Shi, prepare the carriage." Gao Li Shi arranged for a carriage and suggested to Li Longji, for example, go to Savant's restaurant to have some porridge before returning. "Fine." Li Longji nodded in agreement. The members of the adjudicators did not sleep well last night, and were also called out from their beds. When the sun was about to rise, they had breakfast and passed the content of last night's recording to the people who came to take over the shift. They then went to the hibiscus garden to sleep. At this time, the generals were having a hard time. They did not rest well last night. Now, other than the few shots fired by the vanguard, there was no other sound of gunfire. In other words, they could not find the enemy. So they were always on tenterhooks, guessing where Wang Wan put the soldiers, making people feel that there was a hidden poisonous snake waiting for the right time. They hurriedly freshened up and looked at the map while eating breakfast. When they saw that there was no movement for a long time, they could not bear the sleepiness and fell asleep one after another. They even told the messenger to wake them up if something happened. The generals at the various positions below, Wang Wan's side, knew what was going on. They slept peacefully, but the battalion commanders and captains on the other side were worried that their troops would be surrounded, so they did not sleep peacefully either. Just like that, a day passed. Li Longji slept during the day and came to the hibiscus garden full of energy. He walked around and looked. The generals had already woken up in the afternoon, and were still sleepy now. They all had dark circles under their eyes, and were still guessing where Wang Wan's men were. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had just woken up not long ago. They asked someone to bring them a temporary portable bathroom. After bathing, they were eating. Li Longji looked at the generals on both sides, and began to feel sad for them. If they did not adjust, they would lose people before the martial arts competition ended. He then said to Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao, "Cuckoo Xiaobao, do you want to find an opportunity to fight a few rounds? If you keep retreating and don't accept the challenge, the generals will not be able to hold themselves back. Being impatient is a taboo for generals. If they can't even handle this, how can they be generals?" Wang Wan said as she took a bite of the fried egg. "They won't go so far as to deal with others, but their current opponent is you. They keep thinking that you will suddenly scheme against them." Li Longji defended the generals. "They are scheming from the start. How can a war be fought face to face? I feel that they don't seem to care. We have to think of a way to stimulate them, and make them put in more effort." Zhang Xiaobao put down his chopsticks and made sarcastic remarks. Li Longji admitted, "They really don't take the sand table for real. They just want to win against you. They don't care how many people die, they only care about defeating you. Logically speaking, you are not wrong. But I think that if they encounter a place that they need to conquer, they will lose a lot of Great Tang's soldiers in order to win. How will the Great Tang's people live? I don't want to hear every family cry after a battle. You have to think of a way to get them to put in more effort. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan heard something else from these words. So that's how it is. Their condition really isn't good. That's good. Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be serious and thought hard. He even stopped eating. After a while he opened his mouth and said, "There is a way. I will ask the Ministry of Works to speed up the production of something related to the military. When the time comes, this kind of thing will be distributed according to their performance. Those who do not perform well, those who have many dead generals will not get it." Good idea. We will tell them right now. Li Longji clapped his hands and was about to tell the generals. Zhang Xiaobao hurriedly dissuaded him. "Your Majesty, there is no need to be anxious. Wait for the thing to be produced in a few days. Seeing is believing." "That's reasonable. Then let's wait a little longer. You all eat. I will go elsewhere to take a look." Li Longji excitedly left. Zhang Xiaobao watched as Li Longji left. He smiled and said, "They will be exhausted in a few days." "I think so too." Wang Wan agreed. Chapter 995. 3 days. 3 days passed quickly and slowly. For many people, 3 days passed in the blink of an eye, but for the generals, these 3 days were even longer than the 12 days of the 1-to-4 ratio on the sand table. In these 3 days, not even the shadow of the enemy could be found. Zhang Shougui's vanguard would reach Qiantang in another day and a half. The brigade that followed on the shore even took food and soybeans from the ships to resupply. Staring at the sand table in front of him, Zhang Shougui muttered to himself, "Where are they? Have they given up on defense? Have the entire army retreat? If I really dock at Qiantang and set down the cannons, you won't have a chance." The messenger beside him pursed his lips, not saying a word. He knew what was going on. "Men, pass down my order. Expand the search area of the hot air balloons. You must find them. There's definitely something wrong at Qiantang. Check the wind direction." Zhang Shougui passed down the order and rubbed his temples tiredly. His eyes were still staring at the sand table. He didn't believe that Wang Wan wouldn't do anything. The wind direction had already been checked. There was no wind, but it was an inconceivable wind direction. Usually there would be a south or southeast wind at this time. It seems like the glider wing unit can't be deployed. The hot air balloons will fly on their own. Pay attention to the eagles in the sky. It's really inconvenient without eagles. The eyes of eagles can see further than a telescope. At the center of the sand table, Li Longji came again. He didn't come yesterday because he knew that the battle wouldn't happen yesterday, and that the battle would happen today. So many people came. Empress Wang, Wu Huifei Zuzan, and Princess Jincheng were all here to watch the show. In this battle, more than 700 people from Cuckoo's battalion will be wiped out. These 700 people are the Death Army. If they stay, they won't be able to survive. It's just that we don't know how long they can delay the enemy. The wind direction is still, which isn't good for the sniper battalion. They need to change their plans at the last minute. Li Longji was the commentator, explaining to the crowd. To be precise, he was explaining to Princess Jincheng and Wu Huifei. Zuzan could see that, so could Gao Lishur. As for Empress Wang, she was born in a family of generals. She loved to fight and had long understood the situation. She looked at the arrangement on the sand table and asked, "Your Majesty, who is the battalion commander of the royal banner?" Li Longji really didn't know. Gao Lishur replied, "Empress, the person from the Wang banner is called Wang Yi. He's the second batch of battle commanders that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo trained. The first batch was Huzi and the others, while the second batch has been training for more than 10 years. 10 years old. How could Cuckoo bear to do that? Those under the death banner are the warriors of my great Tang. Why can't we think of some other tactic?" Empress Wang's eyes turned red. For a moment, she forgot that this was a sand table exercise and thought that it was a real battlefield. If it were anyone else, Cuckoo wouldn't be able to rest assured. She was even willing to give up on herself. Her heart was as firm as steel. People always die in war. At the very least, they died in their homeland. Princess Jincheng lamented at the side. She couldn't help but think of how she obtained her current position. Back then in Lhasa City, she clearly felt that she was being ostracized by others. After that, Cuckoo led the troops and fought for thousands of miles. The more ruthless she fought, the more attention she received. Empress Wang also remembered what happened back then. Yes. The desert is vast and it's hard to judge the age. How many good men of great Tang have been buried in Tubo? This damn Chi ancestor Chi Dazan, I didn't scold you. I was just saying. It's all in the past. Let's not talk about it. When Empress Wang was scolding, she realized that ancestor Chi Dazan was still at the side. She hurriedly covered it up. Ancestor Chi Dazan was very depressed. You people died, but more people died in Tubo. My country is gone. Who can I find to reason with? While thinking in his heart, he said, yes, it's all in the past. I hope that Wang Yi can hold on for a while longer. Even if he dies, he should die in a meaningful way. When they were looking at the sand table and talking, Wang Yi was very distressed. He was already prepared to light the fire. The 700 people had already spread out. The furthest was 100 miles away. With the first firework as the signal, they would burn the mountain together. The 700 people spread out, making it easy for them to hide. If there was a south wind or a southeast wind, they would keep hiding and let the enemy's main force pass by. Then, they would light the fire behind them. This way, because the enemy had cannons, they would be afraid of being burned. There would be chaos. The fire would be driven by the wind and chase after the enemy. Presumably, they would hold a grudge and turn back to chase after them. They could run and attract the enemy's attention until they died in battle. However, there was no wind now. How could there be no wind in Hangzhou in autumn? Who threw the dice? Their luck was too bad. Wang Yi looked at the sand table and scolded the person who threw the dice. He frowned and tried hard to think of a solution. At this time, a messenger came with a few small models of hot air balloons in his hands. He placed them on the sand table in front of Wang Yi. Oh, the enemy's hot air balloon team is here. There are quite a lot of them, at least 200 of them. They are so free that they can get a bunch of hot air balloons. Won't they take up space on the ship? Seeing the small models, Wang Yi knew what it meant. The enemy had sent out an aerial reconnaissance strike force. He was very envious. He didn't know where the eagles on his side were. Otherwise, if they rushed over, they would break all the hot air balloons and let them fly. Just as he was feeling vexed, Wang Yi had a flash of inspiration. His eyes lit up, and he ordered the messenger, pass my order. Form a triangle. Light 3 columns of fireworks first. 5 minutes later, light 2 columns of fireworks 100 meters away from the 3 columns of fireworks. Another 5 minutes later, light 1 column of fireworks 50 meters away from the 2 columns of fireworks. Act according to the fireworks signal. The messenger left hurriedly and went to the big sand table to report. Then many messengers went to the relevant rooms and marked the sand table of the general. Wang Yi's side was divided into 14 teams of 50 people. Because it was a special situation, the 14 people were divided into 14 temporary tents. The team leader closest to Wang Yi saw that 3 models representing fireworks had been inserted into the sand table, which was not very exquisite, and immediately gave the order. Light 3 groups of fireworks, form a triangle. After 2 more columns of fireworks appeared, he gave the same order. Then he said, order, burn the mountain. Quickly retreat after lighting the fire. Quickly, gather at the predetermined target. The team closest to him also gave the same order, and passed it down one after another. The leader of the hot air balloon team of Zhang Shogui's vanguard was stunned when he saw the models of fireworks on his sand table. Then he suddenly reacted. Telegram, enemy tracks have been discovered. There are 3 columns of man-made fireworks. After a while he said, 2 more columns of fireworks have been discovered. 5 minutes later he said, telegram, 14 columns of fireworks have been discovered. The enemy is using fireworks to convey orders. 3-2. 5 minutes later he said, 14 columns, the numbers haven't changed. The order of fireworks is 3-2-1. The interval is 5 minutes. Then, the messenger took out a bunch of small smoke-like objects and scattered them on the sand table. The leader was puzzled. Why were there so many ignition points? Could it be that the enemy's main force was here? With so little, wouldn't they be burning themselves? After another 5 minutes, the messenger brought over a large model of fireworks and covered a large area. The leader's hot air balloon was picked up and placed on top of the fireworks. When he saw this, he said, "Telegram, the entire Hangzhou area, estimated to be 100 li, has been lit. The enemy is probably using small groups to delay our attack." "Telegram," I said, "Telegram, why are you still standing there?" After the leader gave the last order, he saw that the messenger was still standing there, so he anxiously asked, "Telegram," I said, "Telegram, why are you still standing there?" The messenger didn't show any dissatisfaction. He replied, "Your hot air balloon team flew between 130 meters and 150 meters. The flames below are burning. Because the enemy was prepared, the flames grew very quickly. Just now, you didn't give the order to evade or take off immediately. Thus, the referee team determined that you all fainted from the smoke. If the wind didn't change direction and the hot air balloons flew out of this area without outside help, you all would have died in battle." The leader understood. He rubbed his face with both hands and asked in disbelief, We died just like that? The wind direction is not wind, but outside help? All the hot air balloons in the vanguard were sent out. Where else could there be outside help? Let me ask, why did we faint from the smoke? Isn't this too fake? I predicted that you would definitely withdraw. Let me explain. They have been preparing for more than 10 days. There are many flammable and smoky things, as well as various kinds of feces, pepper powder, oil, and so on. Thus we collapsed from the smoke. If you don't believe me, you can try. If you don't faint, we will make a new judgment. The messenger slightly violated the rules and told the leader in advance. Because he hadn't been judged dead yet, he didn't count as withdrawing. When the leader heard what the messenger said, he thought about more than 10 days of preparation and admitted, "There's no need to try. We definitely fell. If there was really such a big fire, not to mention the pungent smell, even if there was only fire, the sky would be gone. It was only 100 meters high, and there was no wind. Once the heat came out, we would have collapsed from lack of oxygen. I'm sorry, General. I didn't send back the crucial information." The messenger smiled and became amiable. "General, your official position is above the 7th rank. You can go to the center of the sand table and watch. His Majesty is also there." "Okay, I'll go take a look. Even if I die, I want to know how the other party arranged it." The leader stood up gloomily and was led to the center of the sand table by the messenger. Li Longji saw him coming and laughed. "Come, Minister Chen, come to Zhen. Let Chen see how you've been smothered by the smoke." This official greets His Majesty, the Empress Imperial Concubine Hui, Her Royal Highness General Gao, Ancestor Qida. This official is indeed muddled by the smoke. This official wants to know where Military Commander Wang stayed and commanded this sneak attack. Isn't she afraid of burning herself? The military general surnamed Chen first greeted everyone and looked at the sand table. At the same time, he asked where Wang Wan was. When he saw the flag, he was very surprised. "Are you puzzled, Minister Chen?" As you can see, it wasn't Cuckoo who specifically commanded the battle, Li Longji said. Then which general is this? How did he know there was no wind? Or was it improvisation? The military general surnamed Chen had just finished asking when he suddenly realized that Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao didn't have any generals under their command. The only general they had was Xue Yun. When he thought of this, he was suddenly shocked. Gao Lishir said proudly, "Minister Chen's guess is correct. The one who commanded this sneak attack is also someone who adapts to the situation. He's a member of the inner courtyard of the Wang family. His surname is Wang, and his name is Yi. He's an ordinary member of the 300 people in the second wave who learned to command from Cuckoo. He has no official position and no rank." Gao Lishir had reason to be proud. Xiao Bao was his adopted son. There wasn't much difference between him and his own son. When he was 100 years old, all of the family's wealth would belong to Xiao Bao. The servants in the family, as well as that wife of his, would have to listen to Xiao Bao's orders. The fact that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's families were powerful was also due to him, the father. Don't look at how Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family had only risen to power for a short period of time. What they displayed was definitely the foundation of an aristocratic family. When the military general surnamed Chen heard this, he lowered his head and said, "This official blushes with shame. This official is unworthy of his current position. This official requests to resign." When Li Longji saw that his official had been dealt a blow and even wanted to resign, he waved his hand and said, "That's not a good idea. The Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family aren't only powerful in their commanding personnel. There's also the administrative personnel. Don't tell me that with them around, all of the civil and military officials in the court will compare themselves, and then most of them will go home? What should we do? Let their family's inner courtyard take over the position. In the future, most of the court officials will be from their family. From then on, there won't be any need for morning court. We can just hold family meetings in their house. Minister Chen, what do you think?" "No, Your Majesty, you absolutely can't. Otherwise, the country will no longer be a country." The military general surnamed Chen jumped in fright and shook his head repeatedly. "That's right, that won't do. The inner courtyard official named Wang, he has studied for more than 10 years. All of you have only studied for a short period of time. In the future, you have to study hard. Cuckoo has given her all in teaching all of you. She didn't hold anything back, just like how Xiaobao teaches economics to others. Cuckoo and Xiaobao, as well as their family's inner courtyard, I won't use them unless it's a big battle. They are the edge of my scabbard. If I really need them to take action, I only need one result, and that is victory. If all of you do your jobs well, I won't need them. They just want to relax. It's because some people are incompetent that Xiao Bei and the others have to run around. Work hard." Li Longji suddenly thought of Xiao Bei and the others who weren't in the capital. For the past few days, he felt that it was cold and cheerless. It wasn't as lively as when Xiao Bei was chattering by his side. When the military general surnamed Chen heard this, he solemnly said, "This subject will definitely do his best to learn and not disappoint Your Majesty's expectations." "Good. Let's look at the sand table. In this sneak attack, all of you lost. Each hot air balloon had a lookout, an operator to control the fire, a helmsman responsible for controlling the direction, and 2 attackers ready to drop the ammunition at any time. There were 100 hot air balloons in the vanguard, but all of a sudden, 500 people died." Li Longji pointed at the sand table as he spoke. Everyone once more looked at the sand table. The one who was staring at the sand table the most closely was Zhang Shogui. He was currently staring at the sand table, and from his perspective, the hot air balloons on the sand table were still there. This was because he didn't know what had gone wrong, unless he himself determined that the hot air balloon brigade had been completely wiped out, or if some other intelligence agent told him. Otherwise, the model of the hot air balloons on the sand table would continue to exist. But the other side didn't answer the message he sent, much less reply. This left him perplexed. An hour ago, he had been continuously receiving intelligence reports. Just what had happened in this short period of time? Could it be that the enemy flew into the sky and simultaneously controlled, or killed all 100 people in the hot air balloons? Otherwise, that shouldn't be the case. Zhang Shogui held a cigar in his mouth and took a drag. As he thought about this, he felt very vexed. Over the past 2 days, he had been extremely fatigued. He had drunk a lot of tea leaves, and even asked for the coffee that Wang Wan had worked so hard to obtain. In the end, he had smoked a cigar to refresh himself. But the situation on the battlefield had not improved in the slightest. First, they couldn't find the enemy. Then, when they received the news and thought that they had found the enemy, the news was suddenly cut off. Could it be that Wang Wan's main force is lying in ambush around Hangzhou? Then they're hiding really well. The referees determined that so many people wouldn't be discovered by our side unless they dug into the ground, and then suddenly appeared. Then they mobilized 1,000 eagles and destroyed the hot air balloons at practically the same time, not giving anyone a chance to send a message. Does she have that many eagles? It's definitely impossible. How could the people on our side betray us at the same time? That's also not right. The rules have already been set. The people on both sides would rather die than surrender. Zhang Shogui took a drag of his cigar as he muttered to himself. Lord Zhang, do you think that a cloud suddenly floated down from the sky, and with a crack, it destroyed all 100 of our hot air balloons? Wang Zhongxi reminded from the side. As an advisor, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew that he was extremely formidable in history. But he was still young, and when he went to Jilin province, he had lost in the sand table simulation on the ship. Everyone felt that it was a pity that he wasn't allowed to participate, so they had him follow Zhang Shogui and learn from him. I think that your head was struck by lightning. There's no wind, so where did the cloud come from? Zhang Shogui glared at Wang Zhongxi. Wang Zhongxi muttered, I think so too. Recently, I've been waking up from my sleep. Fighting with Wang Wan is too stressful. I finally understand what Zhu Zanchide was feeling back then. Look at how scared you are. You don't have the guts. What are you afraid of? Does she have 3 heads and 6 arms? Go ask the intelligence team on the ship if there's any new information. Zhang Shogui said in dissatisfaction. Oh, Wang Zhongxi replied. Just as he was about to leave, a messenger came in. Reporting, the Vanguard military intelligence team has sent a report. Our special ground forces have been obstructed and have lost contact with the aerial reconnaissance team. In addition, forest fires have been set on the north, south, east, and south sides of Hangzhou. The flames are so intense that they are unable to determine the extent of the fires. Wang Zhongxi slapped his thigh. Fuck, I know. They actually burned down the forest and the mountains. No wonder we lost contact with our hot air balloon team. The referees must have determined that they were burned down. Zhang Shogui glared at Wang Zhongxi again. You don't need to say it. Everyone understands. In one day, our army will land. What do you think we should do? Zhang Shogui shrunk his head and watched as the messenger took away the model representing the hot air balloons under Zhang Shogui's signal. He also placed the model representing the forest fires in several places that Zhang Shogui had suspected on the sand table. Arching an eyebrow, Zhang Shogui said, I feel like Wang Wan doesn't want us to advance. We can beat them at their own game. We can circle around them and quickly advance, catching them off guard. After saying this, Wang Zhongxi suddenly shook his head. That's not right. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao definitely haven't thought of this. They'll definitely think of a way to launch a sneak attack while we're dividing our forces. Then we can concentrate our forces and circle around them. But what if their main force happens to be hiding in the other direction? Zhang Shogui interrupted Wang Zhongxi and closed his eyes in thought. Stop talking. Based on what you're saying, we don't need to do anything. All we need to do is wait. Wang Zhongxi resentfully circled the sand table. As he circled, he sighed. What a pity. There must have been plenty of 100-year-old wood in the forest. Why didn't they think about such a loss? Think about what? Zhang Shogui opened his eyes. If there really was a war and they didn't burn it, then it had nothing to do with them. 100 years? 10,000-year-old trees no longer belong to them. And the people of a fallen country don't even have any dignity left. Zhang Shogui felt like he had a few ideas. Then could it be that Cuckoo chose to temporarily give up space to buy time? Lord Zhang, what can they do by buying time? They can't develop the industry and build cannons, right? Our great Tang's cannons truly were developed by those 2 clans. But that was because they said they wouldn't let the industry take a detour. It was the work of those 2. Right now we're fighting natives. Even if I gave them 50 years, they still wouldn't be able to build cannons. The panel of referees wouldn't agree. When Wang Zhongxi mentioned the experts of the Zhang clan and Wang clan, he became extremely cautious. Those 2 people had shadows in the hearts of many people, but no one was willing to directly mention them. Respect and fear coexisted. Zhang Shogui was vexed by Wang Zhongxi's analysis. Let's not think about it anymore. If we keep thinking about what they're doing, will we still fight or not? Let's move ourselves and let them think. I don't believe that they can guess what I'm thinking. Send a report to the Middle Corps. The Vanguard has been obstructed at Hangzhou. After landing tomorrow, prepare to circle around from the south. Send a brigade to the shore and circle around from the north. Have the Middle Corps act accordingly. Zhang Shogui issued another order. In Wang Wan's room, she and Zhang Xiaobao had just taken a short nap. The two of them knew that with the arrival of the enemy vanguard, they would begin to get busy. They needed to conserve their energy in order to deal with an even more intense battle. Using a hot towel to wipe his face, Zhang Xiaobao brought over the booklets with the names of the important generals. As he read, he recalled, and he analyzed, his mouth never idle. Dear Madam, normally speaking, we should use a plan. We should send someone to write a letter to the Great Tang to ask for peace, or offer up a lot of things so that the enemy vanguard can come to a designated location to pick them up. We can play a game of sowing discord. What do you think? Don't be so corny. There's an outsider here. Wang Wan rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao. In the room, whether it was the soldiers of the Middle Corps or the messengers in charge of communicating with the central sand table, all of them earnestly busied themselves with their own tasks. The messenger closest to the two of them stubbornly stared at his shoes. They were a pair of tall cloth boots with 1,000 layers of soles. They were dark blue and had dark patterns on the surface, elegant and comfortable. They were from Lu, and Xian Air's ready-made clothing store. They could be considered a benefit given to those related to the military examination, so he was looking at them very carefully. Look, no one heard me. Zhang Xiaobao blinked at Wang Wan. Then he said to the messenger looking at the shoes, Go and ask them if they're allowed to use the strategy of sowing discord I mentioned just now. Understood. The messenger's ears finally worked, so he turned and left. You, the soldiers on the front lines, are putting their lives on the line, and you still have the mind to talk about other things, Wang Wan said unhappily. I also know that camp won't be able to return, but I also know that their sacrifice is not to make the people of their homeland cry, but to make them laugh. Damn invaders. Zhang Xiaobao angrily said. Then what is the real us? I think we're the invaders, but I believe that many people will sing our praises. Who knows who's suffering? Anyway, it's fine as long as the people of Great Tang don't feel pain. When wolves eat sheep, they don't think too much. Zhang Xiaobao's character as a so-called nationalist, who had been criticized, had not changed. Li Longji hadn't returned yet. He felt that the situation tonight would definitely be interesting, so he stayed to watch the show. After all, there wasn't much to do in the imperial court. If there really was something important, the officials could come to the hibiscus garden to hold an impromptu court session and suspend the military examination. Just as he was discussing how the situation would develop with a few people around him, a messenger came and told him what Zhang Xiaobao said. Before the judges could make a decision, Li Longji immediately refuted. No, what strategy of sowing discord? It's not useful to our Great Tang. If Cuckoo and Xiaobao led the troops to fight, and others tried to sow discord between them, would I believe them? Would they need to go outside and start a rebellion? If the other generals were to go out, I could even let them bring their families along. Would they be able to rebel with the few men and guns they have? They're trying to force Cuckoo and Xiaobao to bring Great Tang's most advanced weapons and not the cold weapons used in the military examination. The messenger nodded and turned to leave. However, Li Longji stopped him and said, I'll take a look at them personally. Just like that, the group of people squeezed into Wang Wan's command center. Wang Wan had just issued 3 orders when she saw the group of people walking in. She was astonished. Cuckoo, let me ask you. If you were outside and someone tried to sow discord, I would have you go to a designated location to retrieve something. Would you go? Li Longji asked as soon as he saw Wang Wan. I wouldn't go. Do you think I'm a fool? When a general is outside, he won't obey the orders of the emperor, Wang Wan replied without hesitation. Li Longji turned to Zhang Xiaobao and asked, Xiaobao, what about you? Me? I'll go. I'll leisurely walk the entire way and publicize my past. My Great Tang is proud, and they're afraid. That's why they're sending things over. Once they're close enough, I'll tell them to send the things over. Tell them to send the things over. If they don't send them over, they're not sincere. They'll set up the cannons and bombard them with all their might. If they send them over, who cares if they ask for extra money? You gave it to the Great Tang Emperor, but did you give it to me? This general is proud. Zhang Xiaobao and Wei Wei raised their heads and replied. Other than Wang Wan, the others were rendered speechless. In this comparison, Wang Wan was better. Xiao Bao was truly too evil. Good, with the two of you here, we can rest easy. Li Longji didn't feel that there was anything wrong with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's reactions, so he happily praised them. Zhang Xiaobao calmly accepted the praise. He looked at the sand table in front of him, then looked at Li Longji, and said, Your Majesty, you should go to the sand table in the center. You'll be able to see the overall situation there. There's no need. We came to chat with you all. We're idle anyway. Xiaobao, has Xiaobei and the others sent any news over the past 2 days? Where are they? They ran out and played so much that they forgot about us. Li Longji waved his hand indifferently and began to ask about Xiaobei and the others. Zhang Xiaobao felt depressed. I'm in the middle of a war. You're asking about my younger siblings? You're idle, but I'm busy. Just as he was about to reject and send Li Longji away, he suddenly thought of an idea. He smiled and said to Wang Wan, Madam, let's talk to His Majesty about Xiaobei and the others. Ah. Wang Wan was very surprised. She was still in the middle of commanding. Chat. That didn't seem right? When she saw Zhang Xiaobao's calm smile, she immediately understood. Xiaobao definitely had a plan. All right, let's see what Xiaobao wants to do. She played along and said, That's fine. I'm also tired. Today's already past. When night comes, even generals need to rest. I'll just treat it as sleeping on the battlefield. That's right. Where are Xiaobei and the others now? Li Longji nodded. Wang Wan thought for a moment and replied, They sent a message in the evening. They said that they've already arrived in Hongnong and are on their way to Old Willow Village. They saw the construction site of the amusement park in Hongnong. It should be operational before summer. They also asked us to help them think of a way to earn money. They said that if the imperial court can exempt them from paying taxes for 3 years, they're willing to take out half of the profits for the children of Great Tang every year. Wang Wan wasn't lying. Xiaobei and the others had indeed sent this message. When Li Longji heard the news from Xiaobei and the others, he was very happy. In his heart, Xiaobei was like a princess, cute and sensible. When he imagined Xiaobei and the others writing the telegram, a smile appeared on Li Longji's face. When he thought about the telegram again, he asked Zhang Xiaobao, Xiaobao, do you think we should exempt Xiaobei and the others from paying taxes? They seem to be able to earn a lot of money, right? When Li Longji mentioned this, the others remembered that Xiaobei and the others were in Hongnong's amusement park. When Zhang Xiaobao went there, he had already thought about it. If he deliberately thought about it, how could they earn less money? Only Zhu Zan and Princess Jincheng didn't know about this matter. The two of them looked at each other and asked Princess Jincheng. Cuckoo, tell sister, Xiaobei and the others still have business in Hongnong? That's great. In the future, they won't have to worry about money. What kind of projects are there in the amusement park? Wang Wan glanced at the sand table and instantly came back to her senses. Just as she was about to speak, Zhang Xiaobao answered, Sister Nunu, Xiaobei and the others went to kill people. You have to ask His Majesty about this. Originally, Xiaobei and the others were playing in Wanyan County when they were instructed by a telegram from Xingqing Palace to go to Hongnong that night. At that time, it was still raining, and there was a vast ocean in Hongnong. When the adults fell into the water, they disappeared. However, Xiaobei and the others didn't hesitate to use the forced march plan. They traveled in the wind and rain in the starry night. Xiaobei and the other 9 children fell into the water many times. Xiaobao, can you not be so sad? Li Longji was amused by Zhang Xiaobao's words. Xiaobei and the others went by themselves? Don't you know who you sent with them? Who were the only 2 fast shooters of Great Tang with? You keep saying that Xiaobei fell into the water. Xiaobei is an existence that can save people in the bone-chilling Yellow River. How could she be drowned? You're making me sound like a heinous villain. Nunu, listen to me. Li Longji was afraid of being slandered because he saw tears in Princess Jincheng's eyes. Xiaobei and the others were the ones who wrote the invitation letter. There were many wrong words in the letter. Li Longji patiently explained. Princess Jincheng became happy again and praised. Xiaobei and the others are better than other children. I knew this long ago. They should be exempted from taxes, even if they don't give half of the profits to the children of Great Tang. There's still the story of 1.3 million strings of cash. Zhang Xiaobao reminded again. Sure enough, Princess Jincheng looked at Li Longji curiously again, waiting for him to explain. Li Longji was most afraid of hearing about 1.3 million strings of cash. It was really not a lot. Regardless of whether it was the money that Xiaobao worked in the Great Tang Bank, or the money that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family earned, 1.3 million strings of cash was just a small change. However, this money was taken out from the pocket money of Xiaobei and the others. It was not comparable to Great Tang's annual income, but it was also the entire fortune of Xiaobei and the others. In other words, it was all they had. Sighing, Li Longji told Princess Jincheng about the 1.3 million strings of cash again. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were not listening to the story. The two of them were gathered together, communicating with their lips and discussing strategy. The happiest people were none other than the generals. Li Longji couldn't hide his whereabouts, and since it didn't involve the military selection, they all received the news. It was said that His Majesty went to chat with Cuckoo and Xiaobao. It was a good thing that they had been delayed. It would be best if they could chat for an entire night. Thus Zhang Shougui, who loved to look for opportunities, excitedly issued an order. All troops speed up and assemble in Hangzhou. Quickly, increase the power of the steam engines. He also sent a message to the Middle Army, telling them to use this opportunity to immediately send their troops to land and not let them float in the sea. When Yang Xixuan, who was in the Middle Army, heard the news, he felt that something was wrong. Intuition, it was purely intuition. This was because he had never thought that he would be able to defeat Wang Wan in the military selection, even if she used cold weapons. He was thinking that the losses on his side would be smaller, and that they would not be captured alive by Wang Wan. As for defeating Wang Wan, what kind of joke was this? The hot weapons tactics that he and the others could use were all leftover from Wang Wan's experiments. Yes, although I haven't seen Wang Wan personally command artillery and air force, but I don't know why, I always have a special feeling, that is, Wang Wan is very familiar with the joint operations of the Army, Navy, and Air Force. Oh, even including electronic information warfare, a battle strategy that was just proposed by Wang Wan. Sometimes, even in his dreams, he would dream of Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao in the command center, using one order after another to have the three armies cooperate with great tacit understanding to attack and defend. If Wang Wan could really do it, then it could only be said that she had learned it well. Against this sort of person, in a situation where they were not proficient with the weapons in their hands, the chances of victory were too small. Yang Xixuan hesitated, but in the end he still gave the order to quickly approach and disembark. He was afraid of delaying the military. In Wang Wan's command center, Princess Jincheng was already moved to tears by Li Longji's story of Xiaobei and the others. Chapter 996. Brother, Niu has decided. We will wait for Xiaobei and the others to come back and discuss with them about opening the candy house in Lesa City. We will find the best location in the city for them, and we will not charge them any taxes or housing fees. Princess Jincheng imagined that Xiaobei and his 9 children were helping the Tang Empire. They were even willing to take out all their savings for the local construction. What if they were in danger? What if they were cheated by others? That Shuichiro Watanabe almost cheated Xiaobei and the others. Therefore, she wanted Xiaobei and his 9 children to open a shop. In Tubo, she and Zuzan still had the final say. It was not a problem to make a place for them. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not care about what Princess Jincheng was thinking. They continued to study their strategy. Zhang Xiaobao used a small stick, which was a baton, to point at the sand table. He mouthed to Wang Wan. I think Wang Yi should have already taken action. I just don't know how they are doing. Will they be harassing them from behind or blocking them from the front? The information transmission method is really troublesome. Wang Wan was also not clear about the situation at Wang Yi's side. Her sand table did not indicate the location of the fire, so the referees judged that she was not clear about the situation there. Seeing Zhang Xiaobao say this, she replied, "Don't worry. Wait for Shuiyin. We will know the situation when Shuiyin comes back. What is a hot air balloon? How far can they see with their telescopes? With Shuiyin, I am not afraid of not having a high-altitude reconnaissance expert. Li Longji did not notice that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were still busy with their own matters. He was already very helpless after hearing Princess Jincheng's words. He also understood that as a woman, she was very caring for her children. However, the actual situation was not like that. He explained, Xiaobei and the others will not have any accidents. You don't know the configuration of the people around them. If I had a choice, when I go out, I would rather change my defense team with Xiaobei's. She does not need to worry that they will be cheated. She has a special think tank in her team. It's just that they usually do not speak. If they really find that the decision they want to make is not good and irreversible, they will naturally come out and stop them. Even if they are cheated, what can they do? His sister is bullied. As her brother, Xiaobao will definitely help her get back. You must not know about the various football teams and competitions in Beijing recently. Football? Princess Jincheng wiped her tears and asked in confusion. Is it Qqiu or Kuju? I've seen people play polo there as well. The ball flies very high and very accurately. It can always fly over the tallest pole between two vertical poles. What did this have to do with Xiaobei and the others? If they kick, don't fall. A few days ago, the ground in the capital was hard. Sure you do it. Li Longji was truly at his wit's end. He realized that his little sister was always thinking of Xiaobei and the others as weaklings. However, in reality, were Xiaobei and the others weak? With Xiaobao and Cuckoo as her brothers and sisters, she couldn't be weak even if she wanted to. Before Gao Lishur opened his mouth, a smile appeared on his face. He thought about Xiaobei and the other 9 children. Every time they went out to play, they would always give some gifts to some of them when they came back. This put him in a good mood. When he got the 2 dolls last time, he took the time to personally water them. They were already very lush. Although their actual value was very high, he was happier than if he had received gold, silver, and jewelry. He didn't lack money. What he lacked was a home and family. Thinking of this, Gao Lishur's eyes turned red as Weiwei. He laughed and said to Princess Jincheng, Xiaobei and the others found a group of people a few days ago and formed a football team. They changed the rules. I'll accompany the princess to take a look tomorrow. In the end, they told the rules to the other football teams. When they played, they lost 3 games in a row, all by a large margin. Thus, the situation that Your Majesty described happened. Seeing his sister lose the game, Xiaobao, as her brother, wasn't willing to accept it. So he went to command. That day he won a game and taught them a lot of kicking skills. Before the military selection, the generals chose a football team to compete with. During that time, Xiaobei's football team was always winning against other teams. They both had their wins and losses. It was a very common team. Xiaobao helped his sister vent her anger? Princess Jincheng was slightly dissatisfied. How could there be such an elder brother? At this time, Empress Wang said, Nunu, it's not what you think. The team that usually competes is a substitute team. They don't receive any training at all. When they play against the 10,000 generals team, the main team will be sent out. You definitely won't be able to guess the result. 29-0, the 10,000 generals team didn't score a single goal. Until today, the 10,000 generals team has won 5 games in a row and hasn't lost a single goal. They have scored more than 20 goals in every game. So you don't have to worry about Xiaobei and the others being bullied. Their brother is there. Princess Jincheng was happy. At the same time, she was curious. New rules? Xiaobao is so good. He still has time to play football? I must go and take a look tomorrow. Zuzan was also curious, but he was thinking more about how Xiaobao and Cuckoo learned. When the 2 of them were together, they were practically all-rounders. That's right. There's a game tomorrow. I also want to go and take a look. It's a pity that Xiaobao can't play in person. Otherwise, Xiaobao, didn't you say you would accompany me to chat? What are you doing by the sand table? When Li Longji mentioned Zhang Xiaobao, He realized that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan weren't looking at him at all. Instead, they were drawing on the sand table. Ah, me. I'm thinking about where Xiaobei will live when we arrive. Zhang Xiaobao turned around and said with a smile. That's the sand table of the Jiangnan circuit, not the Hunan circuit. Xiaobei and the others are in Hongnong. Li Longji very bluntly pointed out the fact that Zhang Xiaobao was lying. Yes, but Xiaobei and the others are being investigated in the Jiangnan circuit's Jiangzhou. They'll be heading south in a few days. As her older brother, can't I take a look in advance? When we were in Jili Prefecture, Xiaobei was still thinking about the oysters in winter for you to eat. You don't think about her, but I do. If she eats something bad and gets sick, I won't be able to bring back the delicious local food for you. Zhang Xiaobao used the move of retreating in order to advance. It seemed like he was explaining, but it was actually more ruthless than directly cursing. As expected, Li Longji's face suddenly turned red. At the same time, he was very angry. He glared at Zhang Xiaobao. His original intention was to ask why Xiaobao and Cuckoo didn't talk to him. In the end, in just a few sentences, Xiaobao made it sound like he didn't care about Xiaobei and the others. Then you continue to watch. Don't let them get sick. If they really get sick from eating something bad, not only will I not be able to eat the food they bring back, but the most capable group of doctors you sent to them will also lose their heads. Li Longji also challenged Zhang Xiaobao. What he meant was, could Xiaobei and the others get sick from eating something bad? This time, Princess Jincheng didn't say anything. She only covered her mouth and chuckled. Right at this time, a messenger came in from outside. He moved a small model of a white eagle that was originally placed in the sky above Hangzhou to the position of Wang Wan's middle army. He also moved the model that represented fire to the 3 directions of Hangzhou, which had a radius of 100 li. He said, according to the judgment of the judges, General Shui Yun has already received the information and returned to the middle army. According to General Shui Yun's IQ, he can clearly express the matter. Wang Wan smiled with satisfaction. What did Shui Yun say? General Shui Yun flew to the vicinity of your sand table and used his mouth to draw a circle of 100 li. Then, on a piece of paper with many words written on it, he used his mouth to point to the word fire. He flapped his wings in 8 directions and shook his head, indicating that there was no wind. The messenger answered Wang Wan's question according to the answer given by the judges. Is Shui Yun really that smart? Princess Jincheng knew that Shui Yun was powerful, but she didn't believe that he could convey such specific information. Zizhenchide also had a look of disbelief. Tubo also had eagles that could detect the enemy, but what the messenger said was beyond his imagination. The messenger nodded. Princess Shui Yun is at the center of the sand table. Zhang Ying let him perform for a while, and only then did the judges recognize his ability. It's already so late, and you're still tormenting him. His child is about to learn to fly. Well, call him over. Do you want me to go there? Zhang Xiaobao was very unhappy that the judges deliberately called Shui Yun here for the sake of judgment. Shui Yun was indeed an eagle, but more often than not, he and the others treated Shui Yun as a human. It was wrong to torment people casually. Gao Lishir walked to the door. Xiaobao, don't go out so easily. I'll go get Shui Yun. After a while, Gao Lishir came back with 2 people behind him carrying a wooden pole. Shui Yun was standing on it. It wasn't that he couldn't come over himself, but he was afraid that he would damage his claws. Also, he occasionally needed to use the power of his wings, which could easily create a strong wind. There were also a few grindstones tied to the wooden pole. There were coarse sand and fine sand, and they were used to sharpen Shui Yun's claws and beak. Normally, eagles would grind their own stones. Shui Yun was getting smarter and smarter, so he wouldn't do such a stupid thing. How could rocks be better than grindstones? It was like making a nest for children. Only a fool would pick up a branch. How could it be warmer than cotton? Zhang Ying followed behind with a cage in his hand. Zizhenchide greeted Shui Yun as soon as he saw him. Here, we've met before. I know you're smart, but I didn't expect you to be literate. I'll say a word, and you can point to it. It's the word Jiang. Shui Yun glanced at Ancestor Qida and ignored him. She turned to look at Zhang Ying and called out twice. Zhang Ying had dealt with eagles all year round and said, Shui Yin wants to look at the sand table. Carry her near the sand table, and be gentle. The two people carrying the pole carefully carried Shui Yin to the sand table. Shui Yin folded his wings tightly, afraid that the wind from his wings would disturb the model on the sand table. Zhang Ying lifted the cage. Inside were two injured and bandaged squirrels. Their big tails were shaking. These are the squirrels Shui Yin caught. He told me for a while before I understood that he caught them to give them to Xiaobei and the others to play with, so their wounds were relatively shallow. When the squirrels were sent here, they only had the skin on their backs scratched. They didn't die. The doctor applied medicine on them and fed them. He said that the wounds would heal in a few days. Everyone looked at Shui Yin. Shui Yin only nodded to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, indicating that he could understand human language. That was exactly what he meant. Zhang Xiaobao came over and touched Shui Yin's head. He said, You've worked hard. Xiaobei and the others will be very happy when they know. It's a pity that they're not here now. They won't be able to see your children learn to fly. When the little ones start learning to fly, don't forget to give them a heads up. Although our family's power isn't big enough, we still have the ability to protect the little ones. No one around agreed with Zhang Xiaobao's words. Li Longji's reaction was especially obvious. Xiaobao, this isn't called modesty, it's called hypocrisy. General Shui, it's a waste of your ability to catch squirrels. You should be proud of yourself. How about this? I'll confer you a low-ranking official, General Yin Hui, with a goldfish bag. What do you think? Shui Yin didn't understand this time. He looked at Li Longji and then at Zhang Xiaobao. Xiaobao pointed to the goldfish bag at his waist and said, The goldfish bag is this thing. You don't usually use it. General Yin Hui is a third-rank official, a lower third-rank official. He's the same as Xiaobei and the others. Anyway, it's about the same. After a few words and gestures, Shui Yin finally understood. He nodded and whistled at Li Longji. Perhaps he didn't know what a lower third-rank official position meant, but it was a good thing to know. Zhang Xiaobao said again, Shui Yin, they don't believe in your ability. Let them test you. Your Majesty, test Shui Yin. Don't ask questions that are too difficult, Zhang Xiaobao said to Li Longji again. The crowd soon began to pay attention to Shui Yin. For example, they asked what 1 + 1 was, what language Shui Yin could understand, and so on. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan took the opportunity to run to the sand table to discuss the situation of the battle. Wang Yi acted. When there was no wind, he made his own decision and roasted the hot air balloon of the enemy vanguard. Fortunately, there was Shui Yin otherwise more people would have died. Even so, they won't be able to easily rush over and find our main force. Do they really think they're invincible just because they have a hot air balloon for reconnaissance? Even if they use a plane for reconnaissance, I can prevent them from finding our main force. Wang Yi did a good job. I hope they can stall for more time. A war is like this. You know that the troops left behind will die, but you have to make a decision. Wang Wan's words made one feel helpless, but her expression remained resolute. A marshal could not be weak, or else the soldiers would have sacrificed themselves in vain. Even if she had to grit her teeth, she had to cut her own flesh. Zhang Xiaobao used his baton to point at the burning area. A mountain fire can't be extinguished just because you say so, especially in an autumn environment. The vanguard can only make two choices. The first is to stay put and wait for the army behind them to arrive. Wang Wan continued. The second is to take a risk and charge forward, demonstrating the value of the vanguard. We already know that the vanguard of the enemy is Zhang Shogui, who told him to run over to the sand table and make a ruckus. He saved us the trouble of analyzing the path and method of the vanguard. After Wang Wan finished speaking, she turned to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao pondered for a few moments, then said, Zhang Shogui's personality is rather easy to grasp. In my judgment, he won't split his army into two groups and advance side by side to circle around the burning mountain region. He'll concentrate his army on one path and then snake forward, bringing in aerial reconnaissance units from the central army. Yes, I estimate that his hot air balloon unit will be completely wiped out. I don't believe that they'll temporarily adjust the ratio of the various groups in the army structure you've been teaching them. One reason is that they're used to fighting according to the army structure you've taught them, and the other reason is that they were tormented so badly that night that they couldn't gather together to discuss the changes and come to a consensus. When Zhang Xiaobao said this, he did not use lip language, speaking directly. Li Longji and the others were conversing with Xueyun, but when they heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, they immediately fell silent and listened to Zhang Xiaobao's analysis. Wang Wan didn't care. Right now, she and Xiaobao were discussing war. She was confident that even if Li Longji wasn't satisfied and wanted the two of them to chat with him, she could directly refuse. Thus she said, based on the intelligence we've gathered over the past few days, Zhang Shogui is an opportunist. He has enough offense but not enough defense. My guess is that he'll send a small group to advance from another path, and then use the telegraph to quickly transmit information. Does he really think that he's invincible just because he has a radio station? With every advantage, there's always a disadvantage. Let Xueyun rest. Otherwise, if they lose, they'll think that they lost because of Xueyun and won't accept it. This time, I'll let them know that rapid transmission of information can also be used by the enemy. Li Longji and the others were watching. When they suddenly saw Wang Wan point her baton at the location of Mount Huangshan, and heard Wang Wan's words, they suddenly felt that the generals were about to face an extremely difficult test. Zhang Xiaobao didn't pay attention to the others. Looking at the location Wang Wan pointed at, he nodded. Okay. If we eat up the enemy's main vanguard at Mount Huangshan, we'll probably have to sacrifice at least 10,000 people. You're planning to use the sparrow tactic to set up a path, using the enemy's advanced intelligence network to confuse and mobilize the enemy's main force. Then the soldiers we'll send down will have to fight on their own. The enemy's artillery fire is still very fierce, and my logistics won't be able to keep up. When Wang Wan heard Zhang Xiaobao's analysis, she chuckled. How could that be? Why would their artillery fire be so fierce? Do they think that artillery shells are sesame seeds? If they put them in their pockets, they'll have a whole bunch. I want to see how Zhang Shogui will judge if I give them a field of fire. At this point, Wang Wan turned to the messenger and said, Orders. The scouts of the Central Army are to act as messengers and use the fastest speed to pass down the new orders. The commanders of the scout teams are to gather the Central Army for a meeting. Soon, all the commanders of the Central Army's scout teams were present. They ignored Li Longji and the others, treating them as if they didn't exist. All of them were looking at Wang Wan. Orders. Send the orders to the other units. Each unit is to divide into 100-man teams. Pay attention to concealment and scatter to lure the enemy. With Hangzhou as the central line from east to west, carry out a serpentine movement. If you discover a small group of enemy troops north of the central line, work with the nearby friendly units to surround and annihilate them. If you discover a small group of enemy troops south of the central line, there's no need to engage them. Quickly retreat and force your way out of the enemy's line of sight. You're not allowed to merge with other units. If the enemy pursues you, continue to scatter and fight on your own. If you hide in the forest, set fire to the forest. The goal is to lure the enemy's main force to the foot of Mount Huangshan. Logistics commanders, listen up. After Wang Wan finished arranging the messengers, she continued to talk about logistics. Zhang Xiaobao gave a clean military salute and said, Chief Logistics Commander Zhang Xiaobao has arrived. Zhang Xiaobao, I order your troops to supply our main forces with bows and arrows without delay. Wang Wan was not Zhang Xiaobao's wife at this moment, but a real commander. Zhang Xiaobao also didn't treat Wang Wan as his wife. He said seriously, Zhang Xiaobao accepts the order. Messengers pass on my order. Dispatch messengers from the logistics camp. Dispatch messengers to each division as soon as possible. Contents. In the logistics camp, except for the 1st and 2nd Independent Brigades, the ambush troops will not move. The logistics and supply team of the 1st Logistics Division, 1st Logistics Division, 1st and 4th Brigades, 2nd Division, 1st and 2nd Brigade, 1st and 2nd Regiment, 3rd Division, 1st and 3rd Regiment, 1st and 3rd Regiment, 4th Division, 2nd Brigade, 1st and 2nd Regiment, 1st and 3rd Regiment, 4th Division, 2nd Brigade, 1st and 3rd Regiment, 3rd Division, 2nd Brigade, 1st and 2nd Regiment, 4th Division, 3rd and 4th Independent Battalions, 4th Division, 3rd and 4th Independent Battalions, all will move at the same time. Gather all 20,000 troops, bring food and long-range weapons supplies, and quickly deliver them to Mount Huangshan. The other two ND divisions, 3rd Brigade, the 2nd Brigade of the 4th Brigade, the 3rd Regiment of the 2nd Brigade of the 3rd Division, the 2nd Regiment of the 1st Brigade of the 4th Division, the 5th Regiment of the 1st Independent Regiment of the 1st Brigade of the 1st Division, and the 5th Regiment of the 1st Independent Regiment of the 1st Brigade of the 1st Division. If the feint attack team does not receive the order within 10 days, they will move along the southernmost border of the Jiangnan Road map, moving forward on their own to lure or engage the enemy's middle army. That you're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.